Survivor Specialist Phil and Alexa are back for another Edge of Extinction Tell-All, our fifth one. And today we are joined by Aurora McCreary, the first member we're getting who played on Old Comma and New Comma. So we're going to get news stories after Eric's yesterday of, his lies for Comma, right, Aurora? That's what they were?
All lies. He's never told the truth a day in his life.
There you go. That's a good way to start the podcast. Just be like, you know what? All that 2 hours of Eric yesterday, ignore that. It's Aurora's show now. It's time to talk about what was really going on at Comma.
Oh, yeah. I had the total in, so I'll tell you everything.
There you go. I mean, it seemed like you were playing this game on the inside the entire time. You'd never seemed like you were on the outside of alliances. So
no, I mean, I really do think they should, like, the photo of how to win socially in Survivor should definitely have me.
Yeah, exactly.
Just your face. That's it.
I'm excited to hear some of these social stories and to hear what happened early on that set all of this up. So I think this is going to be a lot of fun, Aurora. Since we had the Lesu 3 and then we had Eric, who was part of the Comma 6, I don't know if we've ever really interviewed somebody before who played most of the game either alone or like on the bottom. So I think this is going to be really fun and just a completely different take than a lot of the other ones we've had.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm going to let it all out. Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, Aurora.
There would be open comments and a lot of vodka, so please don't disappoint.
Yes. I literally am too lazy that I made my backup already, too.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Kelly only got through half of a glass of wine, so.
You already have 2.
Yeah, I see I'm more of like a Kellen who had like a whole bottle, so
there you go.
Do it.
Let's do it.
You've been listening. You've been listening.
Yeah.
That was okay. So I want to start with that. That was like the most shocking thing about meeting Aurora. I had no idea you were such a big fan of us. And then all of a sudden I was like, Aurora is like telling me more than I know about myself. I was like, wait a second, Aurora. Like, what is?
Well, I'm not going to lie and act like I had listened to any of the podcasts or done any of the Reddit before. I was just the Survivor fan who had watched everything. But of course, when you're on it, you still want to start listening. And then y'all just crack me up. The banter between the both of you, I was like, okay, probably my favorite.
So. Yeah, that Phil, we're funny.
We're funny. You're the first person to ever tell us that. Okay, so
yeah, no one compliments us like that. So this is quite exciting.
Yeah.
That's all right. Eric answered his phone 15 minutes into the podcast yesterday.
Oh yeah, Eric's mom called him and he picked up. It was
well,
great.
when Mama calls, you answer.
You got to pick up. I don't think she knew.
Yeah.
I think she's trying to watch a podcast and didn't understand. So, not sure if that actually ended up happening.
I wish you would have put her on.
I know. He didn't do it though.
Good stories.
Well, so Aurora, you just said that you were a fan beforehand, but you didn't watch all the podcasts. You weren't like crazy. So you weren't like, were not a super fan of Survivor when you were applying for this? Is the first time you applied? Like, what's the deal with getting you out here first?
I definitely said I was a super fan. I mean, I've watched it since the very beginning. I've rewatched seasons. I would have watching parties with people or would just get a rotisserie chicken and sit at home alone. Then when I learned what a super fan was, I've never called myself a super fan since then.
I feel like rewatching seasons gets you there, though.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you can get through, like, the middle age of Survivor and get through those seasons, you're a fan.
Agreed. If you can get through the early 20s, you've done something.
Yeah, right.
If you rewatched an early 20, then you're just like a sadist.
Yes.
I just rewatched Africa. I was like, God, that was harsh.
You didn't like it, or you just thought it was brutal?
It was brutal. It was brutal in the essence of just where they were and how boring their surroundings were and how boring their challenges were. Like, it just wasn't exciting to watch. But I mean, the people were crazy. I mean, you had Randy. I mean, absolute cuckoo. Like, loved him.
So you were happier that you got cast on a season where you get to go to the beaches of Fiji and hang out.
Yeah. I mean, it's great to be in Fiji until you're there dying and you just want to be anywhere but a beach in Fiji, watching the cruise ships go by. Yes.
So you just said you were there dying, yet you started off on this Comma tribe that literally didn't lose anything. so really, I thought you were feasting the entire time, Aurora.
I definitely were feasting. I think at one point, the cameraman and producers were zooming in on our pot of food and just laughing. Like, how are these people eating all of this? Like, we conserved our food. We had so much produce. We had cans of food. We were fishing. We were crabbing. We had so much more time to do this as well. Like, we had time to go and put in effort to get food. But no, I mean, I definitely I thought I was gaining weight. Well, also because I didn't go to the bathroom for 14 days. So that definitely
That'll
made
do
me
it.
feel a little heavier. But yeah, sorry, Lesu. Sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks for them.
This not going to the bathroom thing for 14 days. That's a lot. That's really common on Survivor. So.
Yeah. I don't know if we're supposed to ask follow-up questions.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to, but I feel like this happens. Like, I hear this story from somebody every season, not always live on the podcast.
Oh, so sorry.
But I always hear something like that where I'm just like, wow, that sounds terrible.
It's scary. It's like you are just like, okay, I'm eating. Where is it going? Like,
Are you feeling okay? Like,
no, I just felt constantly just full, and I literally had abs because my stomach was pushing out.
Wow.
But no, it sucked. But then, like, when you finally went to the bathroom, you were just like, this is the most amazing thing in the entire world. So there's my poop story. Sorry.
Hey,
Wow.
you know what?
5
David's
minutes
made air. Yours didn't make air.
You didn't get like a hashtag like in Cambodia. Stephen Fishback had the whole gastrointestinal distress hashtag. There's a lot of room for content there.
Yeah, no, I'll skip that hashtag.
But I just want, in case any of the less 2-3 are listening, which we all know War Dog is listening or will listen at some point. She said she felt full the entire time. I just want everybody to understand that.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of food. Like, we'll talk about the rewards and things like that, but we were not starving. I mean, we were hungry, but we weren't starving. And so, like, especially when it went to getting into the merge and talking about food and how hungry people were, I was like, shut up, old common members. Like, you do not say that around them, or they are literally going to cut your head off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
so you get out on the boat then. You get Joe and you get Aubrey on your tribe. And like, all we knew about you early on was like how much you loved Joe. But like, I like how you're rolling your eyes and already looking around. I'm not even going to ask you.
Like the one thing they gave us.
Just go.
We don't need to talk. Let's
Did
hear
you do anything else in the first 3 days, or did you just follow around Joe and love him and let him rub stuff off your face or whatever?
I literally just like put my hand in his hair and just got stuck. Like, I just followed him around like nothing. Fuck. You make one line, and it's funny because this was like in the confessional, and they're like, well, do you have anything else to say? And I was like, well, I like David. And then I made the joke about like, I'm a lesbian, but I'm Team Joe. None of the confessional made it, but that made it.
You know that the second you say that, they're like, this is what we're giving her. Like, this is it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely was one of the individuals who, when they pulled up on the boat, I was like, fuck. Like, I love Fans vs. Favorites. It's one of my favorite seasons. But I don't want to play with them. I love Kelly and watching her, but I don't want to play with her. So I definitely was not happy about it, but you can't change it. And so my only thing was, A, looks like a bunch of shields to me, and B, I really liked Joe and Aubrey. And so I was happy that they were the ones that were on our team, because they were very different from me, but I knew that they were also my same age. Like, we would get along.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it seems like Eric was kind of saying the same thing. Like, you don't want to play with them, but then he's saying that they weren't really in danger at the beginning part of this game, despite the fact that the edit's making it look like that, because the first 2 times, each person, the first time they go to tribal, they go home. So, like, it's trying to tell you that, but they weren't going home.
I don't think Joe was going home. Mm-hmm. I don't.
Yeah.
I think the further it went along, I think Aubrey was more in danger, as you saw as well. Like, so the way, because even Eric said this, and I will clarify it. And so, Eric, you may listen. I'm only talking from my perspective. So again, that's one against like the other 6 that saw it differently. My first inclination was to try and be as social as possible, because I said it in press. I'm going to suck socially in this game. Like, I'm not going to be good at small talk and making deep relationships. So I just tried to be as social as I could. And in doing so, I think I also bopped around too much instead of really sitting and making deeper with people. But there's a natural inclination also to get to people who are on your age or have a certain type of life as you. And Joe, Aubrey, and myself are all very close to the same age. Whereas though Gavin, Victoria, Julia are much younger. And then Ron and Julie are much older, but like Julie's from like a family thing. Eric's from a family style. Like it's just different lifestyles as well. And then the conversations were really difficult. I don't do small talk for like long periods of time. I can do it. I'm good. Like in an airport, give it to me. I will meet anyone and everyone. But if it goes past like a day, I'm dead. And I will just walk away from a conversation if I don't like it, or if I'm not. I like SpongeBob came up, The Office, like just things I don't know about. So if I can't contribute, I'm just going to walk away. So that did not help. I definitely ostracized myself. But when it comes to the returning players, when you're in a group and there is a smaller group that's on the outside, I don't think that the people who are in the in can see how they are also contributing to the ostracism. So like Eric said that Aubrey, Joe, and myself isolated ourselves. Well, if after enough times of trying to talk to people, they just kind of walk away after a few minutes or just go do their own things, you isolate yourself because there's no other choice but to do that. I mean, you saw it with Wendy, Reem, and Keith when they were swimming. Everyone else was like, oh, look like they isolated themselves. It's like they're fucking swimming. Like they're trying to help the fucking crowd. Like, well, how is that ostracized?
What do you want from them?
I mean, yes, I was definitely willing to work with Joe and Aubrey. But I also got stuck with them because Joe and Aubrey also were very aggressive and kept going to people and being like, hey, you should come work with like Joe, Aubrey, Aurora, and myself. And I'm like, whoa, we're not like a we. There's no we yet. Like, this is too early to get into like that type of small numbers when you have this big of a tribe. But once I was out, I was out. I mean, I didn't go and continuously try to get myself back in. So that was my fault.
Was that in the early days? What kind of, was this like day 2 that there was already saying like, oh, the 3 of us, or did this kind of more progress?
I think it was more progressing. I think probably by day 3, definitely Joe started going to people and being like he went to Ron. I was standing there and fixing a shelter and Ron's there. Joe comes up and is like, hey, like Ron, you should be with us. And we might throw your name out, but it's not. And all this other stuff. And I'm like, yo, bro, first talk to me if you want to make like some type of conversation with other people. I immediately went after him and was like, Ron, fucking crazy. Like, no. I would be with like, but you can't hate him. I mean, I shot myself in the foot with a number of people the first few days. And I knew that was going to happen. But I mean, I did it. I mean, I ruined my relationship with Julie first 3 days. So.
And that went through literally the entire game. Something that it's crazy how like we don't even see that, but then it's coming up so often later in the game when your name keeps coming up. It's like, it's Julie doing it. It's like, what did Julie and Aurora do?
It was a progression. Like Julie and I in the game, the problem was we were going in the beginning and talking about first impressions. And I said, Julie, you were a very fit soccer mom, like a lot of my friends back home. Which to me, soccer mom is not an insult in any way. I mean, most of my friends, I could not live their lives. I could not do what they're doing and all the things that they're able to do in a day. But Julie had a fear that she was going to be presented as this older woman. And
Right.
so, and then because I probably kept trying to make it a joke to get her to see it was a joke, I kept ingraining it in her. So that was our first just like slash. And then we just continued to bicker and annoy each other. And so, yes, when I say that my relationship with Julie was a huge factor in, for me, how difficult I felt the game was, I mean it 100%. It was probably one of like a few factors.
That first impression game sounds like a dangerous game to be playing very early on.
Wiggler, you suck for making us do those because what else are we going to talk about?
Yeah.
Sucks. I mean, I thought Eric was a priest. Like,
I could buy that. I see that.
I mean, Eric might be a priest. I mean,
we're not sure.
He should be a priest. He should be something. I mean, like, first, he's very knowledgeable when it comes to religion, but also, good Lord, like, he's like the nicest man in the world. Like, to the point where you're like, can I see you get angry? Like, you're so nice.
Something off, right? It's like, what are you hiding there, Eric?
We're gonna find out he's like a Ted Bundy or something.
Yeah.
Not really. Again, he's the sweetest guy in the world.
Everybody, this is it.
14 minutes in, Eric.
Everyone, please shut off your headphones.
Also, I want to announce this too as like a warning to anybody with sensitive ears. Aurora's breaking Troyzan's record for F-bombs today, so get ready. like that's happening on this podcast today.
Yeah, I curse a lot.
It's fine.
No, this is a curse friendly, but also family friendly podcast.
We just like to give the warning in case, because when we had it with Troyzan, he hit close to 100.
He was like our first non-family friendly podcast, and we were like,
I will be more family friendly.
You don't have to be.
No,
it's totally fine. I just wanted to give a warning to the people who are scared. Because
we prefer when people aren't.
Yeah, and also Aurora, you already told us like no filter.
We knew this was coming.
Here it comes. Like that's what we're here for.
We've done the wooden toys conversation. We can do this.
God, okay, yeah, did not get that for the. I mean,
that's fine.
I love y'all, but that
probably.
Was just, really scared, Phil?
They're terrifying. They're terrifying.
They're not terrifying. They're for
children. I mean, you've got clowns and porcelain dolls, but wouldn't?
Yeah, they're creepy looking. It's like you ever see
they're
whatever
made
that
of sustainable materials.
What is that movie? The Babes in Toyland, where like the little things march and they're just creepy as hell looking. It's just like ugh.
So what you're saying is you don't want to go to Nutcracker?
No.
I saw
thanks for the invite, but no thanks.
I think I saw the Nutcracker when I was 14 and possibly fell asleep before intermission.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think they made a movie or something.
Yeah. No offense to the Nutcracker, but. Well, that's there. You go. Well, Julie and Julie are both in the chat. So, Julie.
Yeah, sorry, Julie.
See, now it's funny because Julie and I get along so well now. Like, we went to Chris's wedding. We were in the same dressing room. Like, we get along so well. And it's funny because we have the same sense of humor. We have the same, like, just ability to brush things off our shoulder. But in the game, like, we both just had a reaction to one another. Like, I will tell you, I asked Julie almost every day to play with me. I was like, you don't have to like me, but you can play with me. Like, I really wanted to work with Julie. And I think she did awesome. I mean, one made it to final 3 and killed it. Immunity challenges. So
I kind of wish they would have shown you talking about the soccer mom thing before the crazy tribal council where you just stand up and like, I can't stand soccer moms. Like, I wish they would have like
that gives so much more context.
Like, this has been going on since day 2. Like,
yeah, and like the soccer moms had even nothing to do with it. It makes no sense whatsoever. It just was at that point. I knew a word that was negative for Julie, and so my mind, I said it. Like, she couldn't even hear me.
Mm-hmm.
She was jumping ship.
Oh, we heard you.
We heard it.
Yeah.
Oh, Aurora's gone.
And Aurora.
No, she jumped. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, the first few days, I mean, yeah, we were all nice and meeting, but quickly. I mean, it was Gavin and Eric, Victoria and Julia, Julie and Ron. I mean, when you've got all those pairs and then you've got 3 people on the side, like, yeah.
So now who do you think goes if you do go to that first trial? Because Eric had his own theory, but who would you have thought?
So I think it would have been Victoria or Aubrey. I still think Aubrey at that point was already rubbing people a little wrong by trying to already make alliances when I can't tell you how to be a returning player because they came in playing such a hard game in the essence of everyone made it very clear like they didn't want to work with them. But I feel like they could have been a little bit more demure and let the newbies make the moves to try and talk with them. But I don't think I would have been out at that point because I would have been a shield for people. Like, again, if I'm annoying and you don't like me, I'm still going to be annoying and you're still not going to like me next week. Like, it's like a shamar. Like, you just carry them.
Mhm.
And I think that people could sense already that Victoria was very smart, but was never going to let it need to be controlling. And so I do. And she was the smallest girl on our tribe. Because
Yeah,
Julie,
That's what
Julie
Eric
might
said
be 5
too.
feet. That woman is like strong.
Yeah.
So,
What was it? Like, Julie's jacked?
oh, Julie is
I
yeah,
just
Julie
watched
had
that
abs
episode.
before I had abs. And I was like, fuck.
Damn it.
No.
I mean, yeah, that first immunity challenge that Julie's in, it's like she's standing in that pose. I mean, she beats Joey Amazing at that. It's like it's a Joey Amazing challenge.
Impressive. Yeah.
But okay, so you and Eric agreed on that. So that's actually, you know, I mean, not that
Victoria
you guys
would've
were going to
been
go
one
anyway
final.
because you had Joe and then Manu was kind of a disaster. But it's just like it's always interesting to hear what the dynamic was like because we see so little of it
So
in those first days.
first, Joe is amazing. Joe is physically gifted. He is smart as hell and reads a lot. And so like knows a lot about random stuff and all this. But I don't think, I think it'd be interesting to see how he would have been without Joe, because what you're also missing is you had Chris, we had our own Chris, we had Eric.
Mhm.
Eric is also physically very good and intelligent. Julia and Ron were killer at puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
Our smallest girls still killed it. Like, we weren't, compared to Lesu, we beat them on almost every factor. You know what I mean?
It's almost like when you have Joe, Chris can match up with Joe, but then there was nobody to match up with Eric.
And then Gavin. I mean,
And then
Gavin.
Gavin was great. Yeah.
Julia, like, you know, is a very strong female and just can lift things and move things. Like, it was just different. We stacked the deck from the beginning. Like, I didn't plan it, but no, it was not just Joe. And give props to all the other team members.
I'm glad you said that. So many people have said like, oh, well, Joe is on their team, so that's why they won everything. But I've been rewatching the season and Julia crushes like every single puzzle that's in front of her.
And then you have the one challenge where Joe can be himself and do everything, and he can't do it. I mean, it's also been a few years since Joe's played. So like you may have other people who are more in their prime.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, yeah, Chris ends up beating him at Edge of Extinction. It's like Joe is still right there, but
yeah.
But yeah, so like when we're getting an edit, because Manu's gonna lose the first, they lose the first 3, then there's a swap, and then it's the 5 people on Lesu, so like they go home. So we're not seeing like a lot of the dynamic. Was there anybody else that you were clicking with at all, or was it literally just like I'm stuck kind of in this situation with Joe and Aubrey?
This was when I definitely started working with Ron. I continuously would chat with him and talk with him. And as my social blunders would come out, I would go and talk to him. He's also a teacher and he also is a caregiver. And so I knew that I needed help socially. So to me, he was the most social person on the tribe. So I wanted to attach myself to the most social person because of my faults. I then wanted to make him be able to teach me. So I would tell him to tell me when I would say something bad or something. So he would do that. We would have secret meetings and he would say, okay, Aurora, you hurt this person's feeling by doing this, or you're doing this, stop this. So I knew at that point in Ron's eyes, he started to look at me as like, hey, this girl like is not going to do well with people. Like she's going to piss people off, but like I can also sort of control her. So that was my first start of really trying to get in with Ron. Mm-hmm. Just because he was ridiculous. Like he's just so good with everyone. Even when it's raining, he would sit, like a genie. Like he would just sit there, he put his bag on his head, and he would just sit there and talk to people. While the rest of us are miserable, he kept us going in the rain.
That's crazy. So, but it was really just like Ron. Like Ron was your guy, and like, do you think was there ever like a time when you get to Newcomma and you're there with Ron and you're there with Joe? Are you thinking that like, hey, I might have Ron on my side here, or are you still like, well, he's got Julie and Julia. There's no way we're like he's gonna side with them over us every time.
With Newcomma? No, I still felt good with Ron. Now I will say, like, Comma 6 left on comma still did their job of what they were supposed to, which was to convince us that after the Aubrey vote out that they were so upset and they were part of us, when really that was a shoot to them saying, no, the comma 6 is so strong. So at that point, I start really then also working my relationship with Julia. And we start having really deep conversations about our families, about our past, about, struggles with family members and how does that define you as an individual? Her sister also, I believe she's a social care worker. She's in like the system. And so we had talks about that. My goal was also at this point, I knew I had annoyed people, but it was a smaller crowd. So it allowed me to be able to like kind of explain like maybe why some of my social faults or things like this, it doesn't, although it comes off in a bad way, I don't have that meaning behind it. I don't have any ill will. So I definitely worked with them. I want to back up for a second. I have notes.
That's totally fine.
Amazing.
I do.
I don't think anybody else had notes.
No one has ever had notes before.
War Dog practices speech in the mirror, 10 times before he came on live, but nobody has
How
notes.
long did that take? Is that like all day?
It was 3.5 hours.
Yeah, actually, it was pretty much the second he got casted on Survivor, he started prepping for this podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And as I know you commented, I was stifling a few yawns. Phil was rubbing his eyes a little bit. So
I went to bed.
Yeah. You went to bed.
He had mentioned your name at like 3 hours and 15 minutes, and we were like, she left so long ago.
Oh, I even told him, I texted him, I'm like, I gotta go. And he texted me in the morning, and he was like, hey, I said something nice to you at the end, so go. And I was like,
okay. Oh, he did. He gave a very nice speech about you.
Yeah. So just little things, because I feel like just because we're already at the swap. Before the whole idol thing, I think everyone's told you, like, there wasn't a stone unturned. There's no girls didn't look. I mean,
Yes.
We all looked. You know what I mean? Like, yes, there was that conversation with them, but great. My ass was like, getting eaten by every spider, thinking I have to climb a damn mountain to find an idol. I mean, you just start giving up after a while. And then also something that was really interesting at the beginning of the game was the Joe versus Eric. It was funny because Joe was so worried about Eric. From what I when talking with Eric, Eric wasn't really worried about Joe, and like he didn't have ill will against him. But it was so beneficial because Joe would like go and like get fish or build a shelter. And then Eric would build like mats for us to sleep on for the shelter. So then Joe would go and do something else. And then it was like, if Joe did something, Eric did something, then Joe did something. That's also why Kama had food, why we had amazing shelter, is because we just had the two guys just seeing if they could like do better than the other.
That's a great problem to have, especially when you're not one of those two guys. So you're just like, cool. Like Eric was telling us yesterday, he wanted to catch a shark. It's like, yeah, man, go catch a shark. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, and I don't know why also they don't show the women. Like I went out and was swimming and tried to get fish from the reef. You know what I mean? Like I didn't sit on my ass. I mean, I did see a reef shark and then swim my butt back. But like we did Julia crabbed for hours. And she was the only person who could basically catch crabs. Her and Ron like just killed it. So like, come on, a lot more females were providers in this season. But again, edit.
Yeah, Chris wins. So
yeah. So we, as much as we would have loved to see you swimming away from a shark, Chris wins.
I do. I would have liked to have seen that though. Like if they would have just thrown you under the bus, where like Eric goes out and he's like, I'm going to fish. And then it's like, well, I'm going to try to fish too. And the next thing you see is you swimming away from a shark. Like,
get me out of here.
That would have been amazing.
I was like swimming and I'm like, this is nice. And then I see two reef sharks and I'm just like I'm out. Out. Like, not that important. Get your fish. Like, I won't eat tonight. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
Terrifying.
I think that's what I would do too. It freaks me out when they're like, yeah, I was trying to go catch a shark. I'm like, why? Like,
I was
just catch a regular fish. Catch a regular fish that's not going to hurt you.
Oh, and yeah, and be able to carry it back. Like they're not small, but again,
how big is what's a reef? I don't know what a reef shark is. Like, how big are we talking here?
I don't know. I mean, it looked 1 billion feet long, so like
that was it.
It was probably like 3 feet, but I was like, that's 3 feet too big. Like, I've done diving, but like, no. So, okay, one more thing before, because swap. Before swap.
You can keep going before the swap. That's good.
You should actually be leading this. You have notes. We don't.
The problem is we don't know what happens before the swap because it's not shown. So whatever you got, like.
Well, I just did it by episode. So episode 1 is done. I mean, the only thing I had about the challenge was that I think it was absolutely ridiculous to call it a hero challenge. Like, it was funny too because it was like, okay, Joe's gonna do all of this, and you could see Eric being like, but I can do that, and I was like, I can climb a rope, but like, it was just stupid to me because it already then put more targets as Joe being the hero, and then there was no way I was doing anything with the net. I feel like if you're a true Survivor fan, you would have never been around a net a day in your life. Not after Courtney like broke her ankle.
Yeah.
Like, I told people I had horrible balance just so I didn't have to do that challenge.
That's a good call.
I agree because when Kelly fell, she fell so awkwardly in that challenge. I was like,
immediately.
Could you imagine
bleeding?
Yeah.
And she's like, I'm good. Like, and we all stopped and we're like, no, we can, like, because we were down the slide, so we could stop.
We're good.
Yeah. We have such a lead on you. Like, Kelly, heal up. We'll be good.
Oh yeah. I mean, Julia and Ron literally like just told us where to exactly go on that puzzle. It was so quick. Not gonna lie, like we killed it.
Yeah. It's just I do think I'm surprised they had that net there again, just because like, could you imagine Kelly Wentworth falls off that and like breaks her wrist like Courtney did? Could you imagine that happens to Kelly Wentworth? They bring her out for a third time, she breaks her wrist in the first challenge. Like,
oh my gosh.
I'm pretty sure you would have people suing Survivor then.
Yeah, it's like you just wasted Kelly's third attempt.
You wasted
with that net.
I guarantee, like, her fan club would like be burning nets and have like a petition against it already signed by like 200,000 people or something. I mean, the woman's got a true love following. So no, that would have been ridiculous.
Well, let me ask you something then. This is actually for way later because it doesn't really come out to Ponderosa. But
got notes.
David, well, this still goes in line though with the puzzle because she's saying that they just killed it. David makes his puzzle book. You get to see his puzzle book. Now, were all of those puzzles like a lot of those like have to be repeats and stuff? Why do you think you guys were so much more successful than the guy with the puzzle book who was doing all of the puzzles?
Because we were not screaming at each other.
There it is.
You cannot understand how angry they were at every challenge. Like, and of course, as it goes on, completely understandable, you being completely frustrated. And I am a horrible loser. So I'm very thankful that I never had to be put in that position because I probably would have acted the same way. But every single challenge, they were yelling at each other. Every single challenge, they were almost stepping over each other to do stuff. Like in episode 3.
This is strictly from memory.
Yeah.
The challenge is like the wheel. And the other thing, we thought they were throwing it. We literally left and we're like, they had to be throwing that. There's no way. The one thing you know about that challenge, make a key. You get 2 of the things to match up. All you have to do is make other ones. You don't even have to go towards the wheel anymore because they're all going to be the same length. They didn't make a key, not one. They all had their hands in there, all doing stuff. Whereas though our people, it was like, okay, one person do it and then we all work. So there was no communication, none. I mean, when War Dog, I did a challenge with War Dog, like nice thing War Dog said to me was like, thank you so much for not yelling at me.
Oh, that's so sad.
And I was just like, it's okay. And then the next competition I yelled at him. But
who was the yeller? Like who was like the worst?
Oh, Kelly and Lauren. I don't think you can pick them. And which I get because they're both, especially Lauren, like she is a collegiate athlete, if you didn't know.
I didn't know that.
Hey, that's news to me.
Yeah. She comes from a competitive atmosphere where part of pushing people on is to scream at them, like go forward. But you can't do that to people who aren't used to that. I mean, I did it once during that same challenge and Eric like snapped at me and was like, hey, you got to calm down. And I talked to him afterwards. I'm like, yo, like what, bro, what did I do? I'm cheering people on, like helping them. He was like, but sometimes it's not helpful. And I was like, oh, thanks. So, yeah, you can make books all day, but when you've got the pressure, you've got people yelling at you, you've got other people assisting you in them. No.
And I think what makes that so hard in episode 3 is they've lost the first 2 challenges, and it's like, are we just going to lose forever? And I know that they ended up winning the chickens in episode 3, but all of a sudden immunity, it's like, are we really going to be sending someone home again? Like,
Oh, yeah.
I think there's just so much more pressure on you when you're losing those first couple challenges that even good tribes you can't overcome it.
Oh yeah. I mean, absolutely. Like, again, I cannot understand how their mindset is, and it would never say that they weren't warranted in being frustrated at all. I just also think it just is going to continue to hurt. If you look at a challenge like the clock is ticking away from you, like it's ticking down rather than unlimited amount of time, and it ends when you decide it ends. I think that's a different mindset. I feel like they were like, oh my God, like they're about to win rather than how far are we from winning.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I would be an ass. Like I would not be able to be losing.
I'm kind of disappointed you weren't on losing tribe then, Aurora. I wanted to see you blowing up early.
I mean, instead of blowing up, I just said I hated everything that got in my way. So
I mean,
you hate puzzles. We know that.
Hate puzzles, hate everything. Hate basketball. Played basketball, like, okay.
It's just like holding your breath underwater. Love that. Like, she loved that. Yeah. Aurora, like holding her breath for 5 minutes. Yeah, it's fair.
I don't know why people popped up. Like, you will get there. You're not gonna die. Just pull. It's all mindset. Like there was no way I was going to come up ever. I didn't even give myself that option.
So you grew up in Florida, right?
Yes, and I was on the swim team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like
background context there.
Yeah, I just know because I always just wonder because like I'm from New Jersey. I like lived right near the shore, so like I'm used to going in the ocean. Everybody's always like, "Well, you've never done open ocean swimming." I'm like, I have.
Yes.
Like I have. Like I've done it, and like so like I'm always the same way. I'm like, is it that hard? I guess like when you're hungry and all of that, but I'm like when you did that, I was like, okay, like there's somebody doing it. Like let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I now realize, like, because I swam, when I was in elementary school. You know what I mean? I never swam after that, but I grew up doing every sport. I mean, so yeah, I can understand Keith. Like Keith's problem was Keith learned to swim in a pool. So, and he did. He learned to swim as fast as he could. But there's nothing with pool and open water that are the same, because you freak out and you're done. So I felt bad for him.
Yeah, and especially if you just learned how to swim, and it's like, okay, now like, I mean, he didn't have to do that challenge, but it's like go underwater and pull yourself. It's like
jump off of a boat.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that. God, that challenge sucked for the people who are swimming, because it's not just that, okay, go and swim. Then it's like immediately upon getting done with swimming, jump back in the water and gather these rings for someone who's just stood there the whole time and is just like, fuck. And then I didn't even win. Yet another reward.
One of the few times though, Aurora. At least I guess post-merge it was a little bit. Alexa, what was your question? I couldn't hear it.
Saying, how many challenges pre-merge did you not win?
One.
Oh, I guess 2 or 3.
You didn't win one challenge. That's crazy. That's jarring. Like that. I know.
Harrowing.
Yeah. And it was for the chickens, which the tribe that ended up winning them, none of them even got to enjoy because they all ended up on a different beach.
Wait,
how can you? Oh, except Wendy, who then let them out.
Who then let them out? Exactly.
Oh, I would have killed her. I would have.
Her or the chickens?
Made her sleep in a different area. I would have cut her off from the rice. Like when you see the chickens, like there's the joke of the chickens coming around and doing things. They were everywhere. Every time you went to a confessional, they were there. Every time you were just needing to be alone, they were there. We tried to catch them. We found out chickens fly. We find out chickens can climb mountains. Yeah, chickens suck.
So the whole time you were because the chicken narrative died down, I think, at that first merge episode. But you guys the whole time are looking for these?
After a while, you just kind of stopped because you were like, we're never going to get these chickens. Like, they're so much smarter. Our techniques got better, but you don't understand how little energy you have. Like, we'll get to when we talk about Rick and the idols, but searching, but it gets to a point where you can only walk a block, maybe half a block, and then you got to sit down. Like, I pride myself on having endurance and having like muscle and things like that. Like, I couldn't walk. There was a point where Julie was feeding me because I couldn't. So
that's crazy.
Like their relationship improved a little bit if she was feeding you.
No.
No. She was feeding you like poison. Exactly. That's why you could only walk a block because Julie poisoned you.
She was very motherly. Like, not motherly in the essence of like feeling like a mom, but she was very kind and always making sure that you were okay, whether it was emotionally or things like that. Like, as much as she didn't want to be that motherly role, she just naturally is caring. And so that came out a lot through her. And then she and I did build a little bit better relationship because she wanted so hard to like chop wood, crack coconuts. Like, she wanted this like survival adventure. And I just would sit there for, hours and be like, chop another coconut. I'll eat it. Keep going.
Do that. I'll eat it.
Well, she was doing it. She wanted to. So
yeah, she got the big cheer. What was that? That was the first episode.
That was episode 1. Cuts the thing.
Yes, it was very scary, but it was very. We all were sitting there and like, do it. But yeah, don't ever give her a pom pom, ever. Like, she's just like, I give up. I'm going to entertain you and I'm going to tell you stories. And we're like, okay, thank you.
Tell us about the time you peed in Central Park.
Oh my God. I wish she would have told me that. Like, I loved that.
I have a lot of follow-up questions for when we talk to her about peeing in Central Park.
I want to know what she was drinking before. Like, why did you have to pee? So, like, I've never been in New York City, but like, aren't there a lot of places you can pee?
There are, so I can't believe we're about to talk about this. There are surprisingly.
We talked about poop. Why can't we talk about pee?
Yeah. Well, because I thought we would use this for Julie's, but Julie will still talk about this. So in New York, if you're not like, because when you're a tourist, you're just like walking around. If you're not like at a bar, at a restaurant, there are no public restrooms. There is nowhere to pee unless you pay for something. And especially in Central Park, which is so gigantic. If you gotta go, you just like, there's plenty of private areas you can just go.
Okay, there were plenty of nights after Survivor where I was on my back porch and I'd be sitting and I'd just be like, I don't want to walk inside. Can I just pee in the yard?
At that point, it doesn't matter, right? You're like, I've done it like on TV. Like, who cares?
Yeah. It's all good. I've gotten caught. You get caught by cameramen. You're just like, hey, what up?
What's going on?
Well, not pooping. Don't worry.
Please don't interview me. I'm busy.
We're not on week 3 yet. I'm not doing that. So do you have anything else pre-swap or do you want to get into the swap?
I think the only thing I have pre-swap is a total respect for Julie in the rain. She's the only reason I got through it. It was my only fear. I mean, socials, we all knew that was going to suck, but it was the only thing I was ever scared that I would actually quit because I can't be cold. And I was dying. I was crying, laying there being dripped on. And then also listening to Ron snore because Ron could just sleep. Ron would lay down and in 2 minutes, gone, like snoring. And Julie just kept talking and stuff. And like, I was like, if this woman who is 5'0", maybe 100 pounds is getting through this, then I'm getting through it. And I told her, I was like, I would have never gotten through the night if it wasn't for you. So you'll never understand how much it sucks to be rained on.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
was there, because it sounds like there was that one major rainstorm, I think, in the first episode. So night like 1 through 3. Were there any more? Because that was really the only one that we saw that was really a big deal.
We had like 2.5 days of rainstorms. So like the night one was through the night, and that just sucked. The next one, we were all just standing there and you just saw the skies go black. And Joe and I ended up making like a fake commercial, like news broadcasting. Like I was like, throw it over to the weatherman. And he would do like his thing. And Rick said he did the same thing. It was like a tornado came through. It only lasted like 2 hours, but no, it rained probably like 5, 6 other times. Like it's just the little drips that are torture on you. Nothing like 30 or 37.
I was gonna say, how happy are you that you were not on David versus Goliath?
I'll still take David versus Goliath over Cambodia. Like,
that was an ugly one.
And it's even, you were just talking about Africa. I think I would take the rain over. I mean, Big Tom lost what, 60 pounds on that season. Like, I'll take the rain.
Oh, and it's like, hey, when you're hot, go jump in this like lake pond that you probably got parasites from. So,
yeah, that's well, thanks for that. Now I'm excited.
Yeah, but that's all I have. Okay, done. We're episode 3. Please,
done. So you make it to the swap. You pull these new buffs out. What are you thinking that you end up on just half of what you started with?
Fuck yeah. I was so happy, not being at a camp that is nothing. Because everyone already knew if you were not building a shelter. You were not going to waste your energy building a shelter. I was very happy. I was happy with the people that I was left with. I would have rather Julie and Ron been split and kept Victoria, but I still felt really good. At this point, I'm just thinking, how do we get through the next day? I'm not thinking, how am I going to make my social skills better? I also knew that we were still a killer tribe for physical and puzzles. So, yeah, I was happy as hell.
Yeah, that tribe, I don't think it gets as much credit for as strong as it was because, like, Ron and Julie aren't necessarily seen as, like, they're, like, strong. But then it's, like, they're great at puzzles, and then Julie goes and wins the first individual immunity challenge. Like, that tribe of 5 is, like, you took – like possibly the 5 of like the 6 strongest people left in the game. We're just like, here you go. Like, or like 5 of like the 7 strongest left in the game. We're just like, this is now on a tribe.
Yeah. And then we keep also winning the reward. So we keep getting food. Like it gets ridiculous. Like we won the peanut butter and jelly. And then the next tribe we do the next reward and it's the cookies and croissants. And I mean, if you haven't heard enough about Ron and Julie and the croissants, whatever, get over it. We're at it, and Jeff's like, Aurora, why are you laughing so much? And I should have said, because Julia said, but instead I just said me. I said, oh, we're trying to figure out what we can put our peanut butter and jelly on, and that looks really good.
Wow.
So again, I'm making very good social points.
Yeah.
I haven't even played with yet.
How'd everyone react to that one?
Yeah, not well.
It just everybody on Lesu just passes out, and then Manu's like, "Oh, that's not nice." Like, we're supposed to be friends.
It was Julia. That was all Julia's comment, but of course, I say it because I don't have a filter. So, yeah. But no, I was very happy about this swap. I mean, there was nothing that could have gone wrong for me.
Now, what were you thinking when you saw the other 2 tribes? Did you think like Lesu's done? I know you didn't know any of them, but were you thinking like they're done? Were you worried at all about Aubrey on New Manu since it was just like the 4 of them and then Wendy? Like, were you even thinking about that, or were you just like, screw it, I'm gonna live the life for the next 6 days?
I was in the moment completely surprised about the Aubrey vote. Just because for me, numbers, like there wasn't really any strategy at this point because they also still only had to really worry about Wendy in their group. So there didn't have to be any strategic game at that point. And again, these are shields. So I was absolutely floored. It hit me more than I thought it would emotionally because, again, I'm not really that emotional of a person. But for me, that was the first time where I realized in Survivor, like, I'm trying so hard to make friends that it actually hurt when I felt like I was lied to and people got voted out that I liked. But I think that was also my turning point of being like, where is this emotional Aurora? Get her the hell out of this game. Like, I'm playing. But no, I definitely was surprised. But I think they did the right thing, especially when it comes to counting with the Wendy and how many people were left. So.
you got to kind of experience the blind side of Survivor without actually having to go to the tribal council, because like that was the first time that somebody from Kama goes home, and like you didn't even have to go over there. It's just like, where did Aubrey go? Like, so that's I don't know. That's just kind of different, because I know like when we talked to the last two people, like we had to vote out everybody. Like we were just voting people out.
Nothing was surprising.
So I don't know. I guess that's, if you're going to be shocked, right? It's better to be shocked like in that way, where it's like, well, it wasn't even my tribe that went. It just sucks that Aubrey's gone.
Yeah, and the thing is what made it okay was the lies that Julia and Julie kept playing, being like, and Ron being like, oh, we're so upset too. And they did well. I mean, they started talking strategy. They started doing these other things. And it wasn't weird, because at that point we start really thinking, okay, what are we doing in merge? Who's going to talk to who's going to do what? So they killed it that episode. So, yeah.
So that was, that was episode 5, right? Didn't we actually jump? Did we jump an episode, Aurora? Did you let us do that?
Wow.
Or was that episode 4?
I think maybe it was the double one.
Is that the double?
That was part of the double one. Yeah.
Okay.
The one before, the one before it was just the A-frame. And yeah, there's nothing about it. That was just boring. Nothing good in that episode.
This one where Rick goes home, right?
Yeah. And the funny thing about the Rick one is we all knew at that challenge immediately afterwards that Rick was going home. I mean, it was apparent. You could just see it. Yeah. But it was really sad because you could see that no one wanted it, which again, it'll go to like when people come back. I did not want Rick because of it. Like you could see the disrespect for him in that. Oh, we'll go back to something fun with the Lesu or Manu people. When they got the chickens, it was like 7 minutes of them arguing of, do you want the chickens or do you want the comfort? Like they were arguing out loud. So another time for us to observe them being like, they don't like each other at all.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I couldn't believe they did that in public. Like we all knew chickens were coming. Like you should have already had that conversation.
Who was doing most of the arguing? Let's hear it. Aurora, you got to be throwing everybody under the bus. You promised you're going to put your foot in your mouth. So like, let's go.
I've probably already done it. Like, don't even.
You haven't. No, we're 50 minutes in. I haven't heard anything bad yet.
I can't. I mean, obviously, Wendy wanted comfort.
Mhm.
War Dog and Kelly seem to be arguing. But
Right.
Kelly knows what she's doing. She snaps them down. My favorite photo is the photo of Kelly holding like the 2 dogs, and it's like War Dog and Lauren. And like, that's how it felt like in the game, like watching her be like, no, sit down. Like, go bark and then sit down. I can't remember exactly who it was. I can remember Rick just being like, I'm out of it. Like, why is everyone screaming? But yeah, it was fun.
Why is this a big deal? Like, let's just chill.
Like, I'm shutting up. Yeah.
That's why they didn't want to win the next challenge. They didn't want to win the immunity where Chris goes home, because they're just like, we're just going to argue if we win. So if we just lose, like we're good at that. You know, it's like
definitely. I mean, I think they threw like half of them. I mean, War Dog threw his, obviously.
Well, if War Dog threw it, he wouldn't have thrown it very well, so they probably would have won.
Oh, I meant throwing the challenge.
I'm just saying any throw dig.
Yeah.
I can any
Sorry,
dig.
that one.
Any kind of throw dig.
Any dig at War Dog throwing.
So I might be jumping here, but you said that you were shocked seeing Aubrey not walk back in. So after that, you see only one person's voted out because of that double tribal, and then Aubrey does come back in with the rest of these Edge of Extinction. So what's going on there? What's your thought process there?
So first, what I think is funny is there's a lot more thought going into the double tribal, because again, we didn't know at all as Comma 2.0 if it was one tribal with both of them, or if it was going to be literally 2 tribals.
Because he didn't announce it till you left, right?
Yeah, you guys left.
He announced it till he left, and so we didn't know. We didn't know until we talked to people whether it was 1 or 2. Because my thinking is, especially me thinking that the new Manu has betrayed Old Kama, that they can do nothing more than sit at tribal and use that as a brokering time and being like, look, all of us have been losing. Let's talk right now about who we can vote out from Old Kama. Even if we don't do it today, who are we going to do tomorrow? because I would have tried to. I definitely would. I would have been like, hey, if we're here and they let me talk to you, I'm going to talk to you.
Mhm.
So it definitely was surprising and stuff like that. When I saw Edge of Extinction, it's like you can be pissed. It's annoying, but I've already annoyed that you put on returning players. So like, sure, okay, let's do another one. I can't say that I wasn't pissed. I mean, Jeff asked us, and who didn't like it, and Rick was the only one who's raised his hand. But the rest, yeah, we're all fucking pissed.
Mhm.
But we're Survivor fans, so like, we'll go with it. I don't know how anyone could have a clue that was going to happen.
What did the season title mean to you?
Nothing. I just thought it was.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a stupid name. I mean, because it's not even
the general consensus.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's talked to it. We had 2 alternates who were with us the entire time, and then we got back from press day, and they just one was with us, but they didn't they didn't ride with us. It was iffy. So we knew when we left, like we were all looking around, we were like, oh, okay, now numbers really don't work. Like they didn't work before, but now they really don't. But after like day 3, you're in the game. You're not. I wasn't thinking about something else. And then after Jeff's like speech about how these players are so amazing and they were on the brink, like some seasons just have stupid themes, and I just thought it was a stupid theme.
One thing that I think future players should think about is if there's like a captain season, they're normally testing something out. And like, I'm just thinking about this now, like this is literally just coming to my head, but like Redemption Island and South Pacific, it was like, does Redemption Island work? Like, we don't really know. And then with Blood versus Water the first time, you do half of a cast that's returnees and half a cast that's newbies. So I just like think like if there's another captain season, I wonder if the newbies will be like, okay, what are they testing out on us this time? Because it seems like if the twist is going to suck, it's like, well, at least we had Kelly. Remember her? Kelly's here. Kelly's here. Remember you guys like Kelly?
So here's my question to you on that. Why do you call them captains?
That's just what they called it back when, because back when they first did with Redemption Island and with South Pacific, it was like they were like seen as like, here's your tribe, and then here's like this person coming in.
It felt more like captains, actually, now that we're talking about it. It felt like more captains when it was just 1-1.
Yeah, it's
4. That doesn't
I guess it's not really captains. I don't know what else to call it though.
But see, I think it's perfect because I feel like our comma saw it as someone telling them they were our captains. And I think that's why a lot of people also were like, no, my season, I'm not being captained by someone. Whereas though I think Manu were like, well, they're just players. Like they're with us. They're on equal ground. Yeah, they know more, but like I'm going to treat them the same way in the essence of strategy and using them as players. So I just think it's interesting when people call them captains because
they shouldn't be.
They're not captains. They're players. They know more, but then they also have bigger hits. So like
next season is a captain season if we're
Sips, drink, looks down.
I don't need the eye roll. I'll just drink.
Yeah. No, that's interesting though, because I think it's all about how you're viewing. Are those players going to integrate into your tribe, or is it going to be their season? And I think in the past, it was Stephanie LaGrossa's season in Guatemala. It was Boston Rob's season. It was Coach and Ozzy's season. I mean, Sophie wins that season. How many people who aren't huge Survivor fans remember that Albert was 3rd place? Like nobody knows that because who's Albert? Like, so I just think, I guess it just depends. And I feel like just on Manu, they were able to get into the tribe a little bit better than Kama, just because it felt like the Manu people needed them a little bit more. I'm so sorry I'm saying that out loud, but I felt like they needed them a little bit more.
I also think I think Eric definitely was on point with this being a season of super fans. Well, fans, don't use the term super fans. I had heard, we are going all the way back. I had never applied. I'd always wanted to apply. I just was scared out of my mind to be on camera, let alone to let other people watch what I say out loud. So I had heard that it was supposed to be fans versus favorites, but that it got leaked, so they had to do a late casting. So I sent in my video that day that I heard that, and got a call back.
When was that, out of curiosity?
April.
That's crazy, because Lauren said that she did hers in March, and I was like, that's so
March.
late.
Okay, March. No, so Lauren, myself, Gavin, and Julia were all cast together.
Wow.
Where was I in March of 2018, and why did I not realize this?
Yeah.
You know, like, what was I doing?
We all did it. It was just it was very quick. When I applied, had 72 hours to do a ridiculous amounts of paperwork. Then they call me and they're like, hey, can you be on LA on Tuesday? And I'm like, or on Monday. I'm like, I can get there Tuesday. And they're like, okay. And I'm like, when can I leave on Wednesday? And they're like, no, all week.
Oh my God.
I have court. Like, I've got things to do. Yeah, we were in and out. By the time we found out, we had less than like 3 weeks to prepare.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
See, yeah, because I guess when Lauren brought it up, it was like later in her podcast. So I'm happy you brought this up like an hour in, because that's just like fascinating. And I think for a lot of fans, they always ask, when did you apply? What's the best time to apply? And I think this just proves like,
there's none.
There just isn't. Like, sometimes the timing's just right.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's also like when people say like, oh, like, I don't know, I applied a few years ago, and it's like, yes, they keep your video and they'll put you in like a theme. Keep applying. Like, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, they might like, okay, awesome. We met War Dog. We're definitely bringing him on. Okay. And then they're like, but we got to find someone that like can totally piss off War Dog. So maybe let's look for someone else. You never know when they are moving things around. I mean, we had alternates. Who would have known if they would have just been like, hey, let's make this a 20-person season. So,
yeah.
So you have your 3-week window. What do you do in these 3 weeks? How do you prep?
So I started prepping when I left because I had like 2 weeks between final interviews in LA and finding out. So I just was like, I'm going to be positive in this. First of all, I cried at final casting. Like, holy crap, it is hard. They just ask you questions and ask you questions and ask you questions and keep telling you to have more energy and be more vibrant. I was told to be more likable. Like, there was a point where Jeff's like, I'm talking with Jeff. He's already in Fiji. Like, that's how late it was. That we're on Skype doing it. He was like, yeah, I feel like you'd be really good in this game, but I don't think anyone's going to like you. I don't think anyone's going to give you money.
Thank you so much, Jeff Probst.
I literally just started crying, and he was like, oh, you're the last person we thought would cry. And I just was like, well, screw you, and walked out.
That probably helped you get cast.
You probably got on because of that.
That probably is because they were like, wait, she's going to cry too, and she's willing to just like
give her to us. Oh my God.
So when I got back, I even like called my friend and I was like, I just failed everything. And I never want to do this again. I drank, and I brought a bottle of whiskey with me in my case. And drank it like in less than 4 days when I was there. And then I got back and I was like, well, I'm going to be positive. So I dieted. That's all I did. All I did was diet and tell my job that you're going to hate me, but I'm taking the entire summer off. Yeah.
That's all. I always love to hear the casting stories, and this one is so like this one's just so different than what you normally hear, because this is the first time you applied, right?
Yeah. And
you weren't contacted, you just applied.
I just applied. I got an email, I sent it to that email address, and the next day I got a phone call.
That's awesome.
Wow.
And trust me, like, there's nothing special about me. Like, I'm not the most energetic. Don't have the best story. I don't have these things. It's just about being yourself and getting the right timing. So just do it.
Yeah. And
how did this come up?
I don't even know how we got here, but
I'm glad we got here.
Yeah, me too.
But to me, it goes with the super fans. Like, we were not recruited.
That was it.
No one's recruited on this season. No one is like, yes, Ron has notoriety, but he wasn't recruited. Like, he's a fan. He knows this show. He's wanted to play this show. So I also think there was a part of our season where you were not going to play a regular game. You were not going to just be able to do the moves. If Boston Rob came, Sandrew came, guess what? They would have been out. Like, there was no, hey, like, that's fun. We're going to do this experience together. Day one, it was, I'm going to cut your throat. So other people can say this season was boring or things like that because we were taking out strong people, but you would expect nothing more from fans than to do that.
Right.
Absolutely. Especially if you view yourself as not one of the strongest people. And it's like, well, I'm going to win this game. And the only way to do it is to take out the biggest targets, like one after the other. So at the end of the game, I'm the only choice.
Yeah. The first 3 days, Julia and Vic were talking about, would they be voted out if as a weak female? And like everyone was already thinking, and how do we get the strong people out? So.
Wow. Well,
Damn.
I mean, I don't remember where we were at, but how do you get the strong people out? The comma 6 votes them out, right? Joe.
Yeah.
She's shaking her head for
Here
anybody.
we go. Moving on to the merge.
She just flipped her page.
I did. I don't even want to. It's work. I don't even want to look at it. We'll get back. So, Edge of Extinction challenge, because again, I need my notes. The only 2 people who I didn't want to come back were Rick and Wendy. And that was because Rick was obviously well-liked, and in no way would that be good for my game. He was just well-liked. And then Wendy, because I feel like I would have been in the same boat of Wendy of, well, we can vote her out tonight, or we can just keep her and keep going. And she would have been that. And I think people would have kept her over me. So I didn't want her to come back in either. Everyone else was a shield of some sort to me. And so when Rick got back in, yeah, I quickly said, get him back out. Like, I have no problem. I don't feel bad. You can cry about going back to Edge of Extinction. You got a chance in the game. Like, again, don't complain about getting a chance to come back in the game and then being voted out. I was obviously completely blindsided by the Joe vote. I mean, I don't know if I showed that.
No, we couldn't tell at all. Also, did you know I thought Victoria was going to win? Like, it's those 2 things. Nobody knew that. So
it was like, well, who's Aurora? She's never played this game, except now she's crying on television.
Yeah. So you lose Aubrey, you lose Joe. Like, Aubrey goes, you're not even there. Then Joe goes, and it's like, okay, those are 2 of the people that I was closer with. How worried are you moving forward? Like, were you just like, I'm next, I'm a sitting duck, it doesn't matter? 100%.
Yeah, I went into that. I definitely went into the next community challenge being like, kill me before you're going to beat me. Like, I'm winning this challenge, because that morning waking up, I knew that there was nothing I could do at that point 100% to save myself except win that challenge. So I already was going into that knowing that I had to win. However, going into the challenge, I felt better. And that's because I know that people have talked about the whole War Dog talking to Julia, Gavin thing. I can't attest to anything about War Dogs playing it because I didn't know about it. But obviously, at some point, he did continue to poke with Julia and Gavin about Eric. So good on him. What I knew is that I tried all day to get Eric out because all I could see was Eric being such a social player, such an amazing guy who it was difficult to even talk poorly about him because you felt guilty. Like, he's just such a good guy. And you could easily see his relationship with Rick and David. Like, he knew that they could be numbers. They weren't tied to anyone else but him. I didn't know about him and Ron. Or at that point, I didn't know about it. So I tried with Ron to get Rick out or to get Eric out, and he just shot me down. So then I tried to get the Lesu people together. Yes, people, we all did talk.
We tried.
Oh,
I don't believe you.
I'm laying there with Kelly and Lauren, and I'm like, guys, like, come on. Like, I will come with you. I am ready. Like, let's play a new game. we got to get Rick and David though, and you've got to get Rick because it's obviously he's hurt. And Kelly goes, yeah. War Dog's going to talk to him. And I was like, War Dog?
No one said his name.
War Dog, why is War Dog going? Like, shouldn't you send, I don't know, Kelly, you're like the most social player for the females and like you can make everyone feel very comfortable and important. You know that. Why aren't you going? And the next thing we hear is War Dog and Rick yelling at each other. And I just look at Kelly and I'm like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
So I tried everything, but I end up going to the well and Julia comes up to me and is like, are you okay? Like, how are you feeling? And I was just like, I feel like we're just watching our games be told where to play. And I feel like there are crossing alliances that people are just ignoring and people that are dangerous. And she was like, I feel like we maybe have the same view of certain people. So then of course I'm like, sure, I'll tell you what I have to say, what I had to lose. And I told her that Eric had sat me down and had just offered me a final 3. I don't even remember who it was with, but it was a final 3. And first I said, no. Things not to do again.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No, I said, Eric, you betrayed me last night. If I said yes to you, you shouldn't believe me. So instead, I'm going to tell you, we'll continue conversation. And I told her that he had said this to me. And then Julia said, oh, well, he came up to me and gave me this final 3. And he's come up to Gavin and given him this final 3. So I think they had all been talking about it and connecting the dots. And I think I was the final one being like, why the hell would Eric tell me something? Like, I think they then were like, we're done. So I went into the immunity challenge knowing that, at least for me being told that Eric was going out. So that's why I'm yelling at Victoria. Victoria, like, if you want me to trust you. So.
Yeah. Let's talk about the immunity challenge, Aurora.
Let's get to it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, let's talk about the so you were saying like I'm gonna have to die in order to not win this. So when Lauren like
literally dies,
you're like, well, yeah. I'm not gonna die too.
Foot and mouth. Sorry, term words.
but yeah. What are you thinking in this moment? What's going on here?
So I first want to say thank you to everyone who is attempting to, throughout this viewing, to try and figure out, like, oh, well, it's probably because she couldn't see her or all these other things. No, I saw her.
I made eye contact with Lauren while I was negotiating with Victoria.
So first, I am right next to Lauren. Lauren is the last person, and then I'm next to her. And these are large structures that we're standing on, and there's even space between them. So for me to Victoria, I am talking very loudly. To me, to the bench, I'm like screaming. Like I can't even hear them. So Lauren and I had been talking this entire time. Like at this point, it's like 20 minutes or something we've been up there. And I'm telling her, I'm like, hey, like, you're good. You don't need to worry. She's like, no, I'm just worried. I'm like, no, but you're good. Like, don't stress out. All the time, she's like, oh, my legs are starting to go numb. And I'm like, well, that's not a good sign. Like,
sucks for you.
Probably should sit down. She's like, no. And then she's like, oh, I'm just getting really dizzy. And I'm like, okay, Lauren, sit down. Like, I don't know why we talked the entire time about this to the point where Jeff's like, what are y'all talking about? And I'm like, Lauren, like, do you want to call a doctor? And she's like, no. And I'm like, nothing. Lauren is telling me step by step. She's like, okay, everything's spinning. I'm like, Lauren, sit down. She's like, oh, okay, I'm starting to black out. I'm like, Lauren, sit down. Yeah. Like, and then she goes. And everything goes crazy. And from that point forward, first, it is unfortunate that CBS made us continue to play. Like, I did not think that we were going to continue to play. But we were told to play. And so you tell me to play, I'm going right back to play. I could see her. I was the only person who could see her. I could also see the 20 people around her. I could hear what they were saying. I could hear when she woke up. I could hear them saying your blood sugar's low and all that kind of stuff. Victoria is meditating. I have 20 people around me, around her, my entire concentration is gone. I'm freaked out because I'm scared for her. I'm scared for Victoria and myself standing up. I'm just, everything about being relaxed at that point is gone. And I just get freaked out. And so I'm just start talking. Do I think it was the best social move? Do I think I don't know if I would do it again. I don't know if I wouldn't do it again. I just went into a completely different mindset. I, yes, was worried about Lauren. Yes, I knew. I was the person screaming over, guys, she's awake. Guys, they said it's her blood sugar. Like, I was trying to communicate these things. I couldn't hear Julie. I couldn't hear that. Like, I thought Eric said something when it was really Rick. There wasn't communication. And then we continued to stay up there for probably 10 more minutes. Like, yes, I'm glad Lauren is okay. Yes, I was worried for her safety. But no, I don't think that for someone who was told to play the game and to continue to do this and who heads on the chopping block, that I should have just stood there. I was going to argue. I'm a lawyer. I'm going to argue. So
if they told you to play, then that's the end of that.
That's what we said. Yeah. I mean,
that's what we both said that.
We were like, I mean, if Dr. Joe knows that like Lauren fainted, like it's not that it doesn't look scary, but it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, Cole Metters fainted, but it was at camp, so like nobody even thinks about it, you know.
It was so like because of the distance she fell from. I mean, it definitely
that was a long fall. Yeah,
she wasn't out for like 20 minutes. People, like, I talked forever, but it could be seen as disingenuous and rude. Absolutely. Like, I'm not gonna say it wasn't. But I also immediately after, once we could talk, I talked with Lauren and I sat down and I was like, hey, like, how are you? Like, I'm so sorry. I know that I talked and that probably looked really bad. And she was like, oh, girl, power to you. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Cause that's, I mean, when we asked Lauren about it, that's exactly what she said. She was like, yeah, I would have done the same thing.
Fine. Yeah. Oh, and if Lauren doesn't care, then it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was having people message me like, you tried to kill Lauren, you should die. And I was like, Lauren, your fans are a little crazy. Like,
from what it sounds like, you tried to save Lauren the whole time and Lauren wasn't listening.
I don't think Lauren was conscious in an essence.
Yeah.
She was just at that point, just could not realize where she was and just describing everything that was happening to her. Like, if she doesn't remember, I'm like, we talked, but they're not going to show that. And I'm okay with it. Like, I don't care. I have nothing to prove to people.
You would have been, it would have been a lot different if you would have been like, hey, medical team, can you like move away? You're distracting me. Like,
I need my Zen.
Can you go over there?
I can't complain about it, but it's also my game at that point was completely different than Victoria's. Like, she's meditating. I have all this around me. I can't help but look down. Like, I could see her. And to me, being able to see her was painful because you don't want someone being hurt. And I can't help but keep looking at it. But then my legs are shaking and I think I'm going home. And so my reaction is just to figure out how to make it end. So
adrenaline's pumping. And it's like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah. So again, worst person ever, but
yeah. Horrible.
I mean, you're a monster, but you want immunity. So like, who cares? Right?
That's very exciting.
Won immunity and got an extra vote, which is the stupidest, like, reward or whatever it's called, advantage. But yes, that was the best day. Went from shitty day to like amazing. And I had no idea who gave it to me.
You had no idea because what did you say? You were like, thanks, Joe, or
Aubrey,
or whoever gave me this. Like,
I was like, why didn't I get a name on it? Like,
it said from,
and it didn't say anything.
That's crazy that they didn't write who it was.
That's so mean. They put a from tag.
I didn't find out until I went to Edge that Aubrey gave it to me. I literally kept thinking it was Joe because who's going to win some advantage over there? And that's also when we start realizing they're getting advantages. Like, yeah, it sucked.
Yeah. Well, at least you got one of them, right? Like, that's like.
Got a free toy.
I know, but no, I'm with War Dog. Like, it's not really useful. And to make it useful, you also have to make yourself vulnerable. You know, it's funny that they show me telling people me telling Victoria and Lauren at that vote that I had it. Oh no, girl. People knew way before that. Thank you, War Dog. And I tell he's a lawyer. He tells my extra vote. But no, at that point, I got the extra vote and I thought it was useless because if I'm not in the numbers, I don't have enough friends at this point to make it useful.
And what did you get at final 12 or 11?
At that point, it would have been 11.
Okay.
11, yeah. See, now you make me think like War Dog. War Dog's probably in the chat being like, girl, that was not the number.
It was hour 5.
Hold on, let me see this. Yeah, I don't remember. But no, that's the part. That is also the episode where War Dog tells me he's in law school. Because I don't know why he told me. I think he was just trying to, after the Joe vote and all this other stuff, he was trying to broker some sort of agreement with me. And I had actually told Julia and Victoria about it because they were pushing his name around whether or not they should, keep that side or keep the Rick or Devins. And I was like, no, like we got to keep War Dog. Like I get there are things why we would want to vote him out, but keep him. And I was like, he's really smart. And they were like, and I was like, he's in law school. And then I don't know how someone told him. They told him. And then War Dog I walked back to camp and War Dog's talking about law school. And I was like, oh, shit.
Crap.
another check in my box here.
Yeah, so I tell War Dog about my extra vote at that point to try and broker some sort of relationship with him. And then he tells everybody.
Yeah. But like you said, like getting it, if it's at final 11 when you get it, even if it's at final 10, if it's you on your own, okay, now I have 2 votes. It's going to be 9-2 or 8-2 or like having an immunity idol would have been much nicer.
Yeah. Yes.
What happened the next day?
Oh, you mean the crazy tribal?
Yeah, I mean the crazy tribal.
Talk to us about the crazy tribal.
Wait, how do you feel about soccer moms? What is it?
I believe the word is hate.
No.
Can't stand.
Cannot stand.
I thought it was going to be hate. And I was like, the one time I don't say hate. Thank you, God. So, I mean, it's the same story you're going to hear from everybody. That when we got back, it was Julie and Ron like trying to damage control with him. And Ron kept playing this like, woe is me, like I don't care. And I was like, Ron, this isn't you. Like, stop. I know you. Like, this isn't you. Like, it's even just annoying to watch you do this. Like, you are not this pathetic. So stop being this pathetic because I can't talk with this person. But it got to the point, like, I know the Lesu 3 are like, oh my God, they wouldn't even talk to us or anything. It got to the point where we were sitting in the camp and we would try and talk and Julie would come in and start crying and we would have to console her in front of Lesu 3. Like there was every other time there were so many stories spun and people going and saying, well, I'm going to tell this person this story. I'm going to tell a person this story. You couldn't that day. There was nothing you could do. You just had to keep Julie sane at that point. And I was just floored by the tribal and how Julie jumped and how any of this could happen and how many controls and stuff like that. I will give it to Jeff Probst. He wrote an article for like EW or whatever, Ask and Tell, I think with like Wiggler, where he was talking about the differences between Julie's reaction and my reaction and being blindsided and left out of a vote. And how 2 different people from 2 different backgrounds and lives can react completely differently. And I think that's the best way to explain it is Julie just was reacting that day. We only had 24 hours. We didn't have another night. If we would have had 48 hours, it could have been different. But she was reacting and it doesn't matter what I said. It doesn't matter what Julia said or anyone. I do think that tribal was going to happen no matter what. No.
Yeah. I mean, so my question to you is, was it Julia who blew this open? Was it you? Because the edit kind of show where you guys are having the conversation like, you're blowing this. No, I'm not. Yeah, you are. Who do you think really blew it open? And what was it that set them off?
I don't think I can answer that because I'm not the one who reacted to it. I could say, I don't know why mine was such a controversial statement. But it's whoever the recipient is, in my opinion, is going to be the only person who can say, this is what got me to go. What you're not saying is that tribal had already been going for a while. If you have ever met War Dog or Rick, when they're talking like they kept going and going and going about how Kama was lying and they left out Julian, they left out Ron, and it just was reiterated so many times. So at that point, a lot of us are just getting defensive, which you should not get in Survivor. And also they're behind us and they're loud and it's like overbearing on you. And so for me, I was just reacting to the statement of, well, Kama, no one can believe you. You're dysfunctional. Like you just lied to your people. And my thing is like, well, call us dysfunctional. Yeah, we just left two times we've left out people. But immediately after, we're back together and we're still going for the same targets. So you're just dysfunctional. Mm-hmm. You hate each other every day and you still hate each other every day. Like you can't even work together. Again, said that because I just tried to get them to work together. They didn't work together. They worked together that night and good for them. But I honestly did not think that they were going to be able to agree on anything because I didn't think that Rick was ever going to connect with them back again. I didn't think he was going to do it. I thought he was going to stick with Ron.
Yeah. And you're right though, because they couldn't work together. And that's why a big part of the reason why you're in the final six, because those Manu people, they just go back to back to back to back after that. Cause it's like they weren't getting along or they were overplaying or something. I don't know. I mean,
do either one of you think that, like, what do you think about what was said by like Julia or myself?
I mean,
I didn't think it was particularly like explosive, but to your point, the person who reacts to it is going to have a different.
I think it was Rick. I think it was just Rick realizing where he was at and being like, all right, I'm going to try to, like, the one thing, and I'm just going based on what I saw, obviously, but I feel like Rick was so good at tribal councils. And I feel like he'd been thinking of this where it's like, if I'm at the bottom, like he's already lost once. So it's like, if I'm at the bottom again, what am I going to do to stay in the game? And it's going to be like, I'm just going to start throwing people under the bus. And like, I'm going to find whoever's right now the least feels the least comfortable and just be like, that's who, like, come work with me. And if I can't do it until tribal, I can't do it until tribal. But I just feel like he was just trying to blow it up. I feel like you could have just said like, the sky is blue. And Rick would have been like, can you believe that Aurora just said that to you? Like, and he would have just blown. I feel like that was just coming no matter what. It just goes on to you and Julia. I still don't understand how it ended up at Julia. Everybody's just kind of been like, that's just what happened. But
so I have a few thoughts on that. One, I don't know why we played. We played Mafia, which is a game where it's like pointing, like heads up, 7-up / Clue and killing people, which is a horrible game to play in Survivor because you're also giving away your tells. We played that the night before, and Julia ended up being a Mafia person. And when people were questioning whether it was her and these other things, she was very aggressive. And Julia's never aggressive. Julia sun lights by her smiling. Like, she's just so positive, so happy. And in that tribal, she started getting aggressive and defensive. And whether it was other things about her being called certain things or whatever reason she has for getting that way, she's the only person who can tell you that. Once she got aggressive, I realized I need to shut up. Because I know that Julie has my name in her mind. I know that War Dog's already said it out loud. I had tried to go over and talk to Julie and Ron. I talked to Ron and Ron was like, I'm fine, but I don't think I can get her. Like, don't make me do this. Like, don't make me, because I knew at that point that he saw himself taking myself and Julie, but he was going to take Julie no matter what at that point over me. So I just knew that there was nothing I could do. So I just went in the corner and shut up. There were so many times at tribal at camp, people forgot about me. I just was worthless. I mean, War Dog told me once my vote didn't even matter. Like, I wasn't even playing the game. Like, and I made that to me. I got that right away at the merge. And I was like, you know what? That's fine. I will be that person who you will continue to not vote out because you can vote him out next time. Fine. Keep me that person. Like, I'm not going to all of a sudden become everyone's best friend. Like, I will be the outcast, but I will be the outcast who you're going to use rather than vote out. So I just figured they would forget about me. And then also, I had a brain. I don't know.
You were going.
Ron didn't say my name. Ron said Victoria. Ron said Julia. I think Ron would have, if he heard my name, possibly tried to switch it and like said, yeah, but this person. I think he would have been like, yeah, but Julia, yada, yada, yada.
You think you were in his final 3 plans?
Oh, 100%. I knew at this point that I was in Ron's final 3 plans. And so, sweet. Like, love it. I will keep you to like final 5 and I'm going to vote you out. But
yeah. I want to say too, for anybody who isn't familiar with Mafia and just heard that very short snippet there, that is literally the worst game you can play on server. Like, what are you all thinking?
That is nuts.
My God. I'm sitting here like, I think about like the times that I play like Mafia or Werewolf or any of those games with my friends. We start screaming at each other and it's like, I'm leaving. Like, I'm getting it. Like, you just like, and you guys are playing Survivor. It's like, no, like, that's terrible.
So funny.
It was great in the moment because it was, especially after, tribal and hating each other. It's a great way for us to laugh. We laugh. I mean, we played like 2 games after dark where keeping half the people up after dark was impossible. But horrible game to play.
Horrible game to play.
It's like you don't play poker. You don't do this shit.
I think Rick was playing Big Booty on Extinction Island. That's probably a better game. I don't know if you guys have ever played that game, but there's like there's no like mafias, no social politics to it. So
that's the thing.
That's the game to play.
The big booty, big booty, big booty. That one.
Like, oh yeah, big booty, and you all have different like hand signals. That's the best. And there's
yeah, we call that thumper. You like smack the table.
Yeah, but you don't. Yeah, we played that in Kudas. You usually don't drink, or you do drink.
Okay, well, you guys can't be drinking on Survivor. I'm glad that we're now breaking down games, but playing a social politics game and a game of social politics just feels like you're like asking for trouble. Like even if you're having fun, it's like, wow, Aurora sure was a little angry when she was the villager, huh? Like she's a little curved about it.
No, I was the mafia who stayed alive.
There you go. So you're the one who ruined it for everybody else, It's I love that. You're the first one who's mentioned that. That's awesome.
Yeah, but I do. It's those little things. But no, I don't know why. And I didn't know any beef between Julie and Julia or why Julie would have wanted her out. So I was surprised that was a name. But yeah, I mean, when you're standing up, you're the most vocal person. Your name is going to be mentioned more. I'm just forgotten. Again, a corner. Bye. Like.
Yeah. So then, I mean, to keep on going, I mean, the David boot is just like the David boot, right? Because I feel like everybody's just glossed over that one, but was it just that obvious or no?
So after that tribe, I wake up when I'm okay. Even that night, you see all these these people are meeting and talking this. Well, people wouldn't even talk to me like at all. And I woke up and I have never felt so isolated in my life. Like it took everything in me not to cry. Like I got to confessional, and to the point where we're walking in confessional and I just grabbed the producer and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to speak. Like I'm just crying. It was ridiculous. I mean, War Dog's yelling at me because he was like, you said you were gonna work with me, and I was like, no. Like we ended up talking later and I was like, we talked about working together in the future. We didn't say tonight. So like logistics, War Dog. And she was like, oh, okay, good point. It was horrible. I knew for me, it was me. Nothing else. No one would talk to me. It also got to the point where like I went to Kelly and I was like, Kelly, like no one will talk to me. And she's like, well, yeah, but if you want to talk to people, why don't you start the conversation? It's like you're just sitting there moping. And I was like, well, yeah, but I'm also moping because I want you to think like I'm done with the game, so you ignore me again. Which I talked to Ron about. Like Ron and I were talking, okay, how are we going to do this? Like I'm going to strategically continue to mope so I look like I've given up. So again, push me down the next road. My entire game was just push me down. You're not carrying me. But if you just want to push me down the road, this is who I'm looking to vote out. So that one, I went to War Dog and I'm like, War Dog, got this extra vote. I want David out. So I know you want David out. If you want to use me, I'm okay with that vote. I'm not giving away my vote. I'm never going to do that on Survivor. I'm never going to say, I'll vote with whoever you want.
Mhm.
Hell, and the Julia Tribal, I still wrote down David. I'm not going to. It's not going to help my game to be flip-flop because no one already trusts me. So you need to know that when I say I'm voting for someone, I'm going to vote for someone.
Mhm.
So I had to continue to play that, which, again, why people thought I was an idiot. I voted for David because they said I was going to vote for David.
Mhm. I love the who voted for David, and the camera's just like
that person.
Aurora. She is right.
So I had tried to work with War Dog all day, but I still, if we were going to tribal, I would have gone home that night, I think, 100%. Because I don't think people were ready to cut David. But again, if my back's up against the wall, and it's endurance especially, like, you're not going to beat me.
Mhm.
So I win.
I love that. I win.
I did it. I won this thing.
I did. Go ahead.
No, go. You were about to go somewhere.
So there's little things that people haven't told you. Like, one, we were being told the entire time what the record was, and it was down to Rick, David, and myself, which I was already yelling at Rick, like, how the hell are you still in this? Like, I'm so proud of you. Because we were at this, like, antagonistic, joking relationship at this point. And the second he beat that record, Rick dropped. Like, he's like, I beat it. Like, I'm done. And then David is like an emu. Like, he bends over completely parallel to each other and is just like sitting there. And I'm just like, what the hell? How are you even doing that? So it was the craziest challenge just watching. But David looks at me and is just like, hey, like, how are you doing? And I'm like, David, you need to drop. Like, I'm not going down. And he tries to tell me this sob story about his girlfriend and how he told her he wasn't ever going to drop and he was going to play to the end. And I was like, well, you're stupid because you should just drop.
Yeah, that's a great story, but don't do it.
And why are you telling me the sob story? Like, wrong person. Like, I'm not going to care. So that was just a fun challenge. There was also a Make-A-Wish person there who got to watch the whole thing and we got to talk to afterwards.
That's so cool.
I know, right? Rick kept up with her the whole time, and then we saw her all the time in LA. Like, it was amazing.
That's awesome.
Wow, yeah. No one has said that so far. That's amazing.
Yeah, I just think it's awesome because those are things that Survivor does that they don't tell you about that they should. Like, they flew out her family. She got to actually compete in the challenge the day before with her family. So it was like a bright moment that they were nervous about letting us have because it would take us out of the game. But it was just something amazing that reminded us again why we're playing this game, because we were fans. That was us. So
that's really, really cool.
So yeah, that night, I don't know why anyone's not telling these things. That night, War Dog comes up to me before and is like, just kidding, don't need your vote. Like, again, you mean nothing. And I was just like, what? And he told me it was Victoria. And so I went and talked to Ron, who is my bro. And Ron's like, you got to trust me. And I'm like, no, I don't. Why am I going to trust you? Like, if you vote out Victoria tonight, I automatically am the next one going if I don't win immunity. Like, this is the writing on the wall. We need to get David out first. And he was just like, no, you got to trust me. I'm screaming at him. He is in the water. I am on the beach, and I'm just screaming at him. Like, drama queen versus drama queen. And so, no, they told me it was going to be Victoria. And Victoria and I start building a relationship. And I'm just like, I'm not voting for you. Like, again, I'm not going to vote for someone I don't want to vote for. So I vote for David. And the plan was David the whole time.
Yeah.
Like, why not just include me?
Just tell me.
I couldn't understand it. I was like, I told you the secret that I had. Why wouldn't you trust me at that point? Like, all I've done is shown people I'm not going to flip. Like, you need to remember I may be crazy, but I'm not going to flip. So that was my War Dog note for that one.
There you go. Flips the page.
Paper.
Yeah. To final 9, where Aurora is supposed to go home and again escape. This is so much fun because, like, Aurora, I think you had to have gotten the most votes on this season, right? Like, I mean,
I didn't. Kelly did.
Kelly did. Okay.
What was the number?
Any more tribals?
War Dog will do it.
Yeah.
Or at least
Let's check the internet real quick.
Yeah.
Stand by.
More tribals with more people. But either way, like as the game's going down, it's like it's Aurora or it's someone else. It's Aurora or it's someone else. It's like every time.
Which was good because to me it kept validating. Don't change the game you're playing. Like, yes, you may want to be more strategic. Yes, you may want to have more conversations. But what you're doing is constantly knowing, you know, the theme. And the theme was, if you made a move, you went out. So I continue to just say, okay, this person is who I think it's going to go out. So who do I need to go to who's going to get them out and make the next move? So, I mean, my game was, you can't edit my game, let alone, like, I don't think half the people believe, like, I even was on the season. So, but I was thinking, people, like, I have a brain.
And you're like on the best t-shirt ever made for Survivor. So you're fine. Everybody's going to remember you now. The Powerbuff Girls.
I know, but then I'm like the bubbly, like, really friendly one. And I'm like, what the
you're the cute one. That's really what Bubbles is like. But that's what Bubbles is. Bubbles is the cute.
I'm gonna give you a shirt that says "Call me Bubbles," and you tell me how you feel.
That's it.
You actually have a shirt that says "Call me Bubbles." Wait, Alexa, do not gloss over this. Get out of here.
I was going to talk about Aurora's vote out stats, but let's talk about this first.
Yeah, wait. So do you actually have a shirt that says "Call me Bubbles"? Or are you just saying like that's pretty much what this shirt is telling people?
No, I'm gonna make you one, and you walk around with it.
I will. I mean, I don't care. Down.
Wait.
Here's my address.
It can't have Victoria on it. You have to wear this shirt that doesn't have Victoria on it.
Can it at least have like the beanie, please?
It's just the beanie.
I just like that. Like, here's Lauren as what is it? She was Buttercup. So here's Lauren as Buttercup with the immunity idol. Here's Aurora as Bubbles with the extra vote, and then here's Victoria as Blossom with big glasses and a big beanie. Like, oh my God. It's just like.
It was amazing. And like we were all texting and everything. And I was like, oh, we got an icon and your asses vote me out next. Like, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We finally did it. Look at us. Imagine if that was the final three. If that's like what set it off to be the final three. I mean, that would be the best shirt ever made.
Oh, yeah. Never would have been the final three. No.
But it would have been cool.
I wish. I tried a Girls Alliance so hard because if most girl alliances that actually form go to the end. It's too easy for girls to go because the men implode on themselves. But there was no girls alliance happening this season.
Well, Alexa, hit us with the stats. Let's go.
So, Aurora, you have received 12 votes this season to Kelly Wentworth's 17.
Wow.
That is a lot.
Yeah, Kelly got a lot.
17 is that. 17's a. What's up?
What were Rick's? His had to be a lot.
Stand by.
Rick also got voted out.
Rick also went home.
Like Rick also went home twice. So,
Rick Devins received 12 votes. So actually, you two are the same.
What's interesting, though, what I find so interesting about that is Kelly gets 17, but she's obviously going to be a threat when she walks onto the beach because she's Kelly Wentworth.
She got all those early votes, yeah.
And Rick is he's on a tribe that's dwindling and he's in the minority alliance on that tribe because that's just how it goes. And then he's a huge threat when he comes back because everybody knows the Edge of Extinction story. You getting the same amount of votes as them or like close it doesn't fit. It's like, why?
Doesn't equate.
It does fit though. Again, like I knew my role and so many people are so scared to be the pawn. But when you know 100%, like if you're not the pawn, you're going home, you're going to be the pawn. Mm-hmm. I mean, even in tribal, oh my God, Victoria would just say these eloquent things and like have underlying tones and things like this that were so smart. And then it would go to me and I just had to be that like outsider being like, I don't know. I mean, I'm just going home. Like, I don't care because I had to continue to play that role. So I did.
Were you surprised that you didn't go home when Kelly went home, or were you feeling good about that one?
I felt good about that. But again, you feel good about it and you go home. Mm-hmm. I felt good about that, but I definitely still was. I didn't want to smile before the last vote came out because I was like, if I look like a douchebag, like an idiot smiling, and then my name comes up, like not going to happen. Mm-hmm. So I was probably 75-25.
Okay.
And so that vote, it's funny that they did the War Dogs 15 seconds. Because the War Dogs 15 seconds of people also was the War Dogs, everyone else's 15 seconds voting War Dog out. So you've got Victoria at the camp, me walking up to the camp. He talks to Victoria, then he goes to me, then he goes to Ron. Immediately once he leaves me, I go to Victoria and I said, he's voting out Kelly. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, so he's going like next probably? And she was like, yeah. And we were just like, okay. And then we didn't
for a
talk
week.
and then I went to Ron. Like it was like exactly who he talked to all went right back to each other. And we were like, he does know that he's next or the next one, right? Okay, great. We all agree. Like it's got to happen in 2 votes. So here's some random stuff. War Dog's fight with Gavin. That did not go over well at all.
Oh, yes.
Very loud. Everyone heard it. Gavin was very upset. Like to the point where War Dog was going home at that point. And I had to do everything in my power to try and convince people back to logic that Rick had to go home. War Dog was not going to win immunity. We could get him out the next time. Like it had to be Rick. And then everyone got back to that, and then Rick wins. And also that's when War Dog told Lauren she couldn't do anything. Like War Dog pissed so many people off in one day that it was so hard not to let him go home. But it was also so easy to see, like, he's starting to get too aggressive in this game. Everyone's starting to see how good of a player he is. Everyone's starting to see how smart he is. War Dog was not supposed to go home that night, like, at all. It was supposed to be Rick and Stupid Star and Bubbles and my hair getting caught in a net, like, he wins. It was funny. I listened to Lauren's. I love you, Lauren. Like, really do. The girl for her age and for everything, like, is so beyond her years. Like, she's so smart. And she's got a lot of soul and spirit.
There's a huge butt coming.
There's a gigantic butt. Gigantic butt.
Like, dropped my phone last night when I was listening to her whole thing about being second. She was like, but I was always second in the challenges. And I was like, woman, if you want to know what it feels to be a bridesmaid instead of a bride, meet Rick and meet me. Like, no, I was always second. Like, it stopped. But yes, so I lose that one. And at that point, there's nothing. War Dog was going home. I told War Dog he was going home, basically. So
how'd he take that? How'd he like that one?
What was at Tribal, so I didn't really care.
I was gonna say, if it was on the beach, you'd have been like, "Who are you?"
That's a good call.
Like,
yeah. No, it was at Tribal, and again, I played my role the whole time, being outspoken, yelling, and to the point where I'm like yelling at people. And Victoria is asked like, "Oh, who are you voting?" And like, basically, she's like, "Well, I'm voting. You got to think about people you don't want to go to the end with at this point. Like, you got to get them out, not just work with them." And then Jeff's like, "Well, what do you think of Aurora?" And I was like, "No, I'm voting for who I don't want to sit next to. Like, I don't want to sit next to them." And War Dog looks over and was like, "I'm scared." Like, yeah, you out, boy. And that was also the bag search episode. So.
Yes.
that was fantastic.
That was awesome.
Was it awkward?
No.
Sips vodka.
Sips vodka. Like, I feel like if you had vodka out there, you've just been like sipping it. Like, I don't care.
Can you, again, did not go on rewards, but people would tell me, first, don't ever come back from a reward and talk about how crappy the food is. Because I don't even care if I believe you. Like, stop telling, the potato salad was like dry. It was potato salad. Like,
didn't have enough seasoning for my taste.
Oh my God, I couldn't. Between them talking, Lauren and Gavin can talk about food so much. Like, I guarantee you, Lauren should write a book about everywhere she's visited and the food. Like, she just loves food and she loves trying different things, and she can tell it with such detail. I almost was dying because I just was like, I don't want to know about food. Like, stop talking about food. But they would talk about how there was alcohol and no one drank alcohol at these things. And I was like,
Oh, that's no fun.
Where is my David and Goliath? Like, I am ready to drink with y'all in the corner. Like, I will pour a beer over me. I don't care. Like, yeah. So I am way more fun with alcohol, I promise.
A poor
now
Aurora for the next captain season.
But yeah, now that we're next captain season. Now that we're talking out loud, like every season always has a really great like reward where everyone just gets toasted together, and that did not happen. I would love to watch that.
None of them were drinking, and everyone would be like, "No, none of us really drink." And I was like, "Oh my god, why?"
I am here to drink.
But yeah, I don't even know how we got on this. I guess back to the back search because that's the only thing I remember. No, it wasn't awkward at all. It was another time where strategically I thought this can be good for me. So first, the reason for the back search. We knew about Ron's menu and that he'd given it to Rick. People would search for idols at that point. Like Gavin, Lauren, and Victoria would search, but not really. Not for long. And Rick was out there. Rick was gone. And I am just like, people, like, I need your help. Like, it can't just be me searching. And like, I'm searching and then coming back and be like, where are you? Because I also can't be far away from them. Because I'm definitely we're on the bottom. And so I was like, okay, let's go through his bag. Because they were convinced he already had it, which I mean he did, but like still search in his bag. Like, no idol, get your butts up and keep searching. Search every day, all day long. Like, I've eaten at least, and I'm still searching. And I just couldn't convince them that you still had to search. That if Rick was out there searching, we had to search. But I needed you to be with me because I can't go alone. Like, so when Rick comes up, I take the heat. He puts it on me, and I take it because if anything, they look at me and they're like, "Oh yeah, she's willing to like take the heat for us." Like, yeah. What am I going to do? Be disliked by Rick? Like, we've already talked about how we are only voting for each other out, and there's nothing we can do together. So I try to use it strategically, and I just want to see how long I could keep battling with Rick, who was going to keep pushing it every 2 minutes. So
yeah, and then that's the night Ron goes home, right?
Yes.
Or like he goes home right after that.
Well, no, it's the next day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, that was the same day. Sorry, wrong. I got the wrong episode.
Oh, we need to restart. This is not good. So what's the episode where you and Ron butt heads? Because that's the only relationship we saw between you and Ron. That day. That is that same day. Because you've been telling us that you two had a really tight relationship, and we just saw you guys screaming about Rice, which is awesome.
I just want to read this out, right? Oh, Alexa, do you have it?
I have it. Yeah, I have it up. So we put on Instagram like, oh yeah, ask our guest a question, and Ron Clark actually had a question that
about croissants.
It's actually about rice. It's why you didn't let him eat the rice. So I really like you to answer that. Direct quote: why wouldn't you let Ron eat him some rice?
Okay. Okay. For this is Ron. Okay.
This is directly from a verified Instagram account, Ron Clark.
And here we go. Aurora is now
for those of you who are listening on iTunes and Spotify, she's standing up.
Because I had to explain Ron. Like, you've seen with Ron, he's a little dramatic in everything he does. And so at this point, we've already started realizing that people,
It's my favorite confession maybe of all time. It's up there with the Courtney Yates troll one.
Oh my God. So Ron, we've already been talking at this point because, let me sit down for a second. We've already been talking because when people go on rewards, the people that are remaining are eating lunch at a large portion. Lunch isn't even calculated for, let alone a large portion. So that was draining our rice. And I'm not going to be on a season where we ask for fucking rice. Like, no judgment to Angelina. Like, I would have asked for it if I was empty, but I wasn't going to get there. Also, our container has molded. So our rice is moldy. So Victoria and I, for the last 2 days, picked out rice kernel by kernel. So screw you in wanting more rice when I've done all this damn work. Then Ron is like, we're going to get rice. We're going to do all of it. We're going to eat the whole bag. 3 cups, 2 cups, everything. For like 10 minutes. This is not a one-time thing. That's why I'm like, Ron, like, I'll give you your attention. Simmer down. You're not getting your rice. Like, no. I've picked every day. I've done calculations. And he's like, you don't get to decide what people get. And I'm like, I do. Because I plan on being here until day 39. You're going home soon. Be quiet.
And then he does go home soon.
And then he goes.
I know. And he was mad.
You should have given him the moldy rice.
Oh, he would have had some sort of thing to say about it. Like, I love Ron. And Ron, there are a few people who will be friends for the rest of my life if I have a choice. And Ron is one of them. Ron is someone who I built an actual true relationship with. And we were like brother, sister, family. Like, you should bicker with them. You should be able to call people out. I should be able to tell you when you're being a little sassy queen, like, sit down. Like, no. And he would be like, well, Aurora, like, how about you shut your mouth and you might get along with people? And I was like, okay, like, yeah, same thing.
I'm so upset we didn't see much of this.
Oh, it's all the time. All the time. Like, but we bickered. Whereas it wasn't arguing. We just bickered.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ron. Seriously, he's probably one of my favorite people ever. Love him. And did not want him out. And that was, I don't know if this is a bad move on my game or I just couldn't find a way around it. I told people, everyone was trying to use the family visit as a tool. And I told people, if I can make it to family, you can choose to not choose me. Like, I just think it would be amazing for my brother to come and to be involved in this, let alone, like, I'm pretty sure my brother's going to lose his job. So I probably wouldn't want to talk to him and find out that he lost his job for coming, which he did. So
wow.
I knew that I wasn't going to be chosen because I had already said that to Ron. Ron was around people when I said that on Common. So when Ron picks Gavin and Julie, as much as Vic and Lauren can say they weren't upset, they were upset. Even if it was for a little while, it was for like shirts over their faces on like the boat rides and going home. They both needed their own time. And I've never seen Victoria break in an essence of like character and mode. And she was like, I need my time. Because they have this relationship with their fathers that are so close. Like, it hurt both of them. And that was very hard for my game too, because I had to, again, try and put logic on them. And this was a great like time for me mentally to realize that just because I think logically doesn't mean that other people are wrong. It likely means that I know that I'm in the minority and that I have to not convince them of my thinking, but figure out how to change their thinking in essence, figure out what the reason for their emotion is. So because I had hammered on them, like, you can't vote out Ron right now. Like, we got to get Rick. Again, Rick was the only person anyone should be thinking about. They got over it quickly. And then they were both like, okay, yes, Rick's got to go. But yeah, no, that was hard. Also, something you don't know is Ron's husband lost his wedding ring playing that game. And and they were searching and searching. You could hear them searching afterwards. And Jeff found it.
Wow. Oh, I did not think that was going to have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Wow, that is insane. In what? Like, how do you find that? That's crazy.
Oh, they were searching probably for about like 15, 20 minutes. And randomly Jeff found it. So.
Oh my gosh.
I won't tell who, but one of them also didn't like the wedding ring. So they were like,
So you though, at this tribal where Ron goes, you give your extra vote to Gavin to use the extra vote to vote Ron. Yes.
So Lauren and Victoria and Gavin, like the whole group, and I don't know individually because Vic and I are alliance at this point. Vic wants to take me to the end. And I need Vic for as long as I can in the game. Because at this point, I have Ron, who's very social, but now people are realizing that everyone loves him, so he's got to go out. Vic is my undercover social, who is great with everybody. Ron had Julie. Vic had Gavin, or so she thought. And so I was like, I'm good at this point. Both these groups of 2 want to take me to the final 3. Like, why would I not keep them? But they were, after Rick won immunity, or not Rick won immunity, after the Ron upset them, it was really hard. It also, they were completely convinced that Julie and Ron were going to flip.
Mm-hmm.
That they were going to vote with Rick. So we had to think about scenarios of who are they going to vote for? And I would have obviously been the target. So my extra vote wouldn't have counted on the revote. So we had to figure out where the numbers were going to go. If there was a revote, was the extra vote going to be counted? At one point, I kind of talked with Vic about like her trust with Lauren, and did she really have Gavin as much as she did? Because in my opinion, I saw Lauren pulling Gavin over. Like Lauren had slowly kind of like gotten him, whereas though Vic had him before. And I was like, I've got Ron, which means I've got Julie. Like, are you sure? Like, how do you feel about like Lauren? Like, I've got the extra vote. We can do this. We can get it to where it's a revote and automatically take it. But even in like the brief mentioning of Lauren, as much as Lauren and Vic didn't get along in the game, she just thought she had Gavin. And so there was no way I could have gone with Rick or Ron and Julie and Devin. So because I thought, I was like, I'm going to use it for Lauren. I'm going to use both of them for Lauren on the revote. Start talking and get Lauren out because I didn't trust her. Didn't trust her to push further in my game. I thought she was a great person. We had great talks, but I didn't trust her as she didn't need me. Mm-hmm. So yes, I gave Gavin the thing to do that whole thing. Ron was pissed. I told Ron to get his shoes before he left. I was like, Ron, shoes. And he's like, yeah, I'm good. And I'm like, wow. Sorry, bro. Like, yeah. Sorry. It was a big tribal for me because to the point, again, Ron is such a good friend. We had to have therapy after. Like, he was so crushed that I voted him out. And I was like, I tried everything I could. Like, there's nothing I could have done not to vote you out. And that was the one time where I needed to vote with the people. Mm-hmm. I couldn't just do what I wanted.
Yeah. And then it sounds like, at least from what you're saying there, you needed Rick to not win immunity at 6. And you're probably sitting in the final 3. Do you think that's true, or am I making too much of a jump?
There's too many
variables. Oh, well, that because of Edge of Extinction. But like at least at that point in the game, if Rick goes home, you're feeling good because you're like, I am in the middle of 2 pairs of 2 that both want to take me to the final.
If Rick went home instead of Ron, yeah, I thought I was in very good. But it's also, it wouldn't have been with those pairs. Okay. So I don't know how it would have fleshed out because I would have never gone to the end. Hi.
Yeah, there's a dog in the video.
We were listening, but we saw the dog.
This is Kevin.
Hi, Kevin.
I would have never gone to the end with Ron, and I was okay with him going home that week. Victoria, I was either going to try and take out 5, or I was going to force her to make fire, or I would have done fire against her. I was never going to the end. Victoria, I love her. I told her I was, but I was never going to. Like, I was going to lose. And I knew they knew that because they wouldn't take me. But I knew that I was in such a good position. Like, I had 2 people who wanted to take me to final 3 who each had someone. Mm-hmm. So, like, I just kept riding the road.
Who were you trying to get to the end with then? Like, who was your dream final 3 that you think you would have
out of those 2 groups.
Oh, but it's 2 groups. Well, it would have been Julie and either Gavin or Lauren, and I would have rathered. I don't know. I would probably.
And you think you win, or you're close at least?
Yeah. Again, I feel as though I have a better speaking ability to say what I played, and I think I could point to people about like, hey, remember that time you wanted me out, but instead you used me to vote this person out, and then the next time you used me to vote that. Like, I could have traced it. I was never in charge of the votes. I didn't want to be in charge of the votes. But a lot of the times I knew it was happening. And a lot of the times I would go around the person who was about to make their move. It was a very hard season because, again, our jury ended up being strong players. You know what I mean? The strategic, big move players. And so you couldn't tell them their game was wrong and that they didn't play a good game. But you needed to explain to them why their game helped your game. And so I think I could have been good at the final trial. I probably think a lot of people would have liked me and still would have voted for Gavin, but like whatever. Everyone was taking Julie. Julie knows it. I think Julie had an amazing tribal speech in all of this. I think 1,000 factors different could have led Julie to win the game. But everyone was taking Julie to the end. So the reason I wanted her butt out.
Yeah, so that she's not taking up a spot for you.
Yeah, so we'll get to my beautiful vote out, which, God, I need to end this soon. What the hell? I went into that day ready to go. I was ready to argue everything I had. This was my final tribal in those people. I talked so much with Victoria, with Gavin, with Lauren. I knew I had Victoria, but again, I did not trust that she had Gavin. I was just like, I feel like Lauren has him. I kept telling him, like, you need to go with them. You need to go with them. Like, you need to keep going with Gavin. Like, I don't think you have him. And I talked all day. I talked about, okay, here are the numbers. A, all of you want Julie to the end. You just gave someone one of the 3 spots. So unless you win, you're making fire. Any of you feel good? Only Vic does. Like, and if you vote me, like, again, I've showed you all this. I'm not lying to people. I haven't played the game flip-flopping. I haven't switched alliances. I have merely allowed people to see me as someone who can be their vote with them. I tried everything I could. I did not do that at the tribal. And I stick by my decision not to. Because I know a lot of people were like, Aurora, why didn't you speak at your tribal? Like, obviously, if you can't tell, like, I'm already War Dog and Titan 90% of tonight. Like, I'm a speaker. But I didn't do it because I also know at that point, if I had any social worth at all, if I put down Julie in any way or made her game seem less, which inevitably would happen when I say things like people are taking her to the end, I would have had no way to win at the end because people would have no respect for me. So I did it all day long. And again, coming second to Rick because I can't beat the man to save my life. And then he decides to try and make me cry by telling, oh, look, Aurora hasn't eaten. Yeah, I know. I get it.
I'm aware. I'm starving.
And Rick, again, and this is the first time we start building a relationship. We are chatting. Like, I'm like, Rick, you wanted to be this guy with 2 names. You are going to be this guy with 2 names. You are going to be America's favorite. You are going to be remembered for years. And he just didn't even see it even at this point. And I'm telling him this. I'm like, this is why I'm voting you out. This is why there's so much heat on you. That's why it looks like we're bullying him. We're not bullying. We are all in love with Rick. It is just, you have to get him out. And you can try and make the man feel safe, but he's still going to go. I mean, after I had his bag, he carried his bag around every day and didn't let it go. Like, he knows what he's doing. But I'm sitting when everyone else goes on the reward, which honestly I didn't expect Gavin to pick me because I also knew I was on the bottom of them. I had to prove it. I wasn't going to flip. I would have been scared if someone else was left with Rick and them. But the one thing that like really just crushed me that day, which is why I also was just so tired and just was like, I'm going home. Like, what's that? And make it happen. Because I was sitting on the beach and Rick is like, hey, like maybe we can figure out a way to work together. And Julie comes down and sits next to me and just tells me about the comma 6. Because this is the first time I find out about comma 6. About how everyone wanted me out day 1. And I just was like, this is not how you get someone to flip. So at that point, I already knew, Julie knew I was going home. And so it was like, screw this. Like, I was just over it. It was a long day, and I decided I was not going to make a fool of myself and try and fight. I still thought they were going to stay true, which is why the whole reverse psychology and stuff like that, there's no way that you still don't think maybe I'm safe, especially when they don't fucking move or talk. When Rick is doing this whole, like, we're going to vote, because Rick was like, we're going to vote for someone that's not Aurora. And I was like, that's stupid. No, you're not.
Don't lie to me.
Yeah, it sucked.
You said that you were war dogging it. You're an hour and 20 minutes away from war dog, so don't worry.
You're good.
You're
you
not
are
war dogging
you are
it.
on the inappropriate page.
You
What
are
I'm actually
not.
really impressed is I haven't had to go to the restroom yet. I'm like, whoo, okay.
Yeah, we're at 2 hours and 10 minutes without peeing.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
I know. I don't have that longer. That's actually going to be my timer because I'm like, I got to pee.
Yeah. Well, luckily for you, we only have to talk about Edge of Extinction for 0.3 seconds. So how was your 1 minute on Edge of Extinction?
Did you get reamed? How'd it go?
No, Rim loves me.
Yeah.
I didn't meet Rim. Didn't know anything about me. I got war dogged.
Oh God, that sounds worse.
I got Ron. So
Oh.
War Dog is just sitting there asking me all these questions. What's happening? What happened? What's the top? Who do you think's in charge? And like once I said Victoria, he was like, okay. Like he was like, okay, she might know what's happening then.
Mhm.
Like maybe she isn't a complete idiot. Like, yes, Victoria was in control. And then Ron just like wouldn't look at me. He just was like, why? And I just was like, we'll talk tomorrow. Like, this is not going to happen right now. And then, yeah, I got hazed. Like, it's fucking sucks. Like, there's a fire and they all are like the rays around it. And they just box your butt out. Like, it's freezing. Oh. So the one thing I wish they would have shown, because I'm an idiot, is you had to get on a canoe once you get voted off to go to Edge of Extinction. And I'm trying to get on the canoe and I fall.
No.
I fall into the water. And I am soaking wet when I show up. And Aubrey greets me and she's like, hey. And I'm like, yay, warm welcome. And then I get, she's like, why are you wet? I'm like, I fell out of the boat. Like, and then they box me out and I freeze. And I am in the best mood. Everyone else was like upset. I'm seeing their like vote outs and I get to Edge of Extinction and production's mad because I'm like, woo, that was fun. I made it. Dude, I made it to final 6. Like, who the hell thought I would have made it? Again, did not remember. Didn't make it 6. Made it 7. But
Yeah, you got
like,
7. Aurora.
who would have
That's
thought?
disappointing.
Person who should have been voted out, who was going to be voted out first, would make it this far. Like, this is ridiculous. And they're like, but you got voted out. And I'm like, you can't, but like, for real. Like, loudmouth. But no, I just got boxed out and it sucked. And then that's also when I woke up the next day and I realized how much they talked and how much everyone knew everyone's secret and that they were their own tribe. And that's when I was like, oh, this is going to suck. So
Good thing
Because
you're
you
only
knew
there for-
whoever was going to win that, you had that feeling of like, they're about to win this game.
Right away. No, because I did not think anyone would be stupid enough to still keep them in the game. But I was like, wait, what? Like, I'm watching Ron write a letter for Chris, and I was like, that can't be legal. Like, and let me tell you, I don't know if it was. And I'm going to say that because, what, it was 13 people? How many people of us were on 11? Something like
11.
13.
At that point, it was.
At that point,
it was 10.
11. Okay, so 10 people, and there was one person, like corralling people around. There weren't cameras on that day. No one was taking video of anything. If it was just like random of like one person. So people, I'm watching him write a note, and I'm like, you can't do that. Like, no. And then I'm hearing about these advantages, and I hear about Warren's idol for the first time, and I'm hearing that like Kelly told it, and that people are sitting like, this is what we're going to do, and whoever's going to do this is going to do that, and we told him this, and I'm like, so you've all made a plan basically? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
Like that's gonna be. I'm waiting to watch this. That's why I'm also not so surprised, and none of us are so surprised during the tribals. I think everyone, you see it more of like, oh my god, it's actually working. Like that's happening. That's happening. So
I don't think it'll ever happen again.
No,
never.
I think it was very telling that we didn't see the letter. I think that was very purposeful, that as a viewer that wasn't shown.
It just was, again, let me give it to Chris. Chris won this game. Chris did every single thing Chris needed to do. Chris has the salesman personality to be able to do it. I could have come in with the same thing and I probably wouldn't have been able to do it. So Chris won this game. He won his season. He won the votes. He's a millionaire. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't vote for it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
No. And like, I thought I was. I 100% thought I was going to. Like, watching the tribals before it, I asked permission. I asked in tribal about the final tribal. I've kind of just skipped over the last 3 days because whatever. I asked Rick, can I ask the question about why you gave back your idol to him? Are you going to be mad? Because I was like, I know this is a very like sore subject still, because he knows that was the end of his game. And he was like, yeah, that was the only move in which I was truly impressed by. Because that was something in which I could not understand how you convince Rick to give you back the idol.
Yeah.
Right.
And why he thought Rick did it. Because I wanted to hear from his mind. Everything else, I went into the tribe thinking like, I'm voting. I can't vote for Gavin. I can't vote for Julie because what strategic moves have I seen? And then I like calmed the hell down and was like, Aurora, you didn't play outwardly strategic because if you did that, you would lose. So yes, why are you so upset with him? So at tribal, I'm listening and I hear him talk about like, oh, okay, the Lauren thing and convincing her to play her idol. And I was like, yeah, but okay, that was Kelly, and that was Kelly's move, really. Like, Kelly told you to do that and how to do it, and she told you about Lauren's personality, and all these other people told you about Lauren's personality. I'm not saying Lauren would have not done it. Like, Lauren's saying she was still going to do it. Fine. But still, you came in with a rule. Here are the rules. Here's the thing. War Dog said, you can't just win challenges. You got to throw it. You got to meet people. You got to make them underestimate you. You have run, getting Julie. Here's how you get Julie. Here's what you need to do. Here's this. For me, that was the only thing. Because I was not in the group that was feeling like Chris was a representative of my game, I just saw it as other people's games. I think the people who were on Edge of Extinction were strong, strategic, physical players who thought, I'm a strong strategic. I'm out here because the weaker people voted me off. So I'm going to tell my strategy when I would get in. So each of them saw a little piece of their strategy with Chris. And so it was kind of almost like not just validating Edge of Extinction, but it was validating each of their own points of Chris's final game. And so that's why I think the vote came out as it did. I think that if you look at Lauren, Rick, and myself, we weren't part of Edge of Extinction. We weren't part of that group think, that mentality, that mob thought of this is our game. And I think that Kelly, I don't think she truly was invested in it. Like she said, she didn't talk as much strategy from what I understand on Edge of Extinction that everyone else did, in the essence of like giving up stuff rather than idle. So I think she still was like, my game is singular. So I don't know. I think, I mean, I voted for Gavin. Gavin is not a good speaker. Gavin is very witty. Gavin is that person you sit next to have funny comments be made. Gavin is a caption Twitter king. Like he's funny as fuck, but that doesn't come across. So I think that was his downfall. And then I think Julie, I think what people won't admit is I think Julie's game was overcome by Ron's. That it was hard to give Julie credit for things because we automatically gave it to Ron. I think Julie had more influence in the game and more that she did. You just couldn't see it because it was with Ron.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be like, and I don't know. Lauren didn't really think she was going to win either, but that seemed to be her biggest problem too. Is it's like everything you were doing was with the last 2-3. Like, how can you overcome that? And I feel like that starts to become like Gavin didn't really have that, right? Because him and Victoria were kind of seen as like making the decision together. Did Gavin kind of have that too? Because it was being seen as like Victoria's moves.
I would say before Tribal, Gavin definitely had that. It was Gavin just went where the numbers were. I think Gavin did a good job. And I will give Lauren and Kelly credit at Tribal for bedtime. I will give Lauren and Kelly credit at Final Tribal for continuing to try and let Gavin explain his game, if not explain it for him. There were parts where Lauren was like, yes, he did do that. He told me this and this and this. Gavin played more of a part in moving votes and talking with them behind the scene than people saw. And he started to tell people that, but then he would stop.
Mm-hmm.
So Gavin did more than he could at least point to and say, no, I was the first one to go and talk to Lauren. I was the first one to go and do this, which created this. Julie just couldn't do that because most of the time, and everyone knew it, there were also people who had to be the move makers. Like Ron had to be the move maker. So anytime people would come up with a strategy with Ron, he would be like, okay, well, I'm going to go tell them that because I have the best relationship with them. So Julie didn't have a chance to do it. I mean, hers was Lauren, and that's great, but that's late in the game, which all these other people have been stewing on an island talking about stuff. You got to talk about it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were still in the game.
Yeah.
And I truly do think that because all of them felt like they had a little part of Chris's game, they won in the end. So
I feel like that's like as good of a way to sum that up.
Yeah, that was very well done.
Yeah, I have like no response to that because I'm just like, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It really does. So I'm just like, Edge of Extinction in a nutshell, right there.
But it's everyone's thing is so different. I mean, my view of Edge of Extinction is also completely different than anyone else's view on Edge of Extinction.
Mm-hmm.
Because God, we go into the challenge and we're finishing it, and we will talk about that challenge. We're finishing it, and everyone's crying, and I'm just like, okay, Jeff, look, I'm an outsider in the game, and now you bring me to this damn island where people are crying, and I have no idea what the hell they're talking about. Like, this was no, like, I didn't do any healing. I slept and was hazed. So, like, there's also things where I think everyone was able to calm down at Edge of Extinction and then get to team mode. And I don't think that that's what Jeff expected. I think Jeff was really interested in the psychological aspect. And I think it did exactly what he wanted, which was it's almost like, okay, I'm going to nerd out. So like I have a really big passion for international human rights and those things. And like did a lot of like, almost like, a lot of papers and dictations and things like that on Sudan Lost Boys. And there's a lot about these children who are made to be child fighters in the armies and stuff, and how easy it is to lose your humanity, such as in the game of Survivor, to make friends and cut throats. But to actually teach these people how to gain their humanity back is so difficult because it's crazy. It's just way more difficult. So Survivor is about losing your humanity, learning to literally make friends and stab them. And Edge of Extinction was, can we get back to being humans? How can we rebuild this while also still being in the game? I think Edge of Extinction should have been its own show. I think it could have been, here's part 1, here's part 2. But you can't let them still be in the game because it's not then just about healing. It's about still strategizing. And I think that's also why Ponderosa, people were like secluded. People were in their rooms or with their person or being like, I need my alone time. And it was like, wait, Ponderosa's supposed to be about drinking and playing volleyball and like having fun. Like, what did I miss? Oh, wait, we can't drink. And Carl drank all our alcohol. And I'm over it. But I don't know. God, I just ranted. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean,
that was fascinating though.
But let's hear. So since we're at like almost 2.5 hours, why don't we hear about this challenge and then anything else you want to talk about other than the challenge?
So for me, the challenge is just something that to me was very interesting because totally fucking proud of myself. Like literally, if I could deal with balls, like I could win the game or I could win this. But I think something that was interesting and it's almost throughout the game and stuff like that. I want to figure out what it is. So first, Victoria, thing that she doesn't talk about. So we all know that one time when Victoria is like, "Hey Jeff, I'm playing." There were more times where he would be like, "Aurora," and Victoria's like, "My name's Victoria."
Oh my God.
And it was the girl. It happened all the time. And then like there were challenges where like you could see the cameras were placed by the boys, or where the other things were happening, not with the women. And like where we're standing, the challenge that I win when it's me, Lauren, Victoria, David, and they're like, "Oh look, all the strong people fell." It's so funny how we look in Survivor at strong people, because it is the exact opposite. And yet it still happens. It's like, why would you, Jeff, say that on it? Hey, the strongest people just fell. No, actually they didn't. The strongest people are the ones who are standing. Like it's usually these smaller people or the people who are just mentally with their back up against the wall. So I go into this final challenge and I'm ready to go. Like I got nothing to lose. I haven't had to cry. I haven't done anything. I just woke up. And to the point where like Eric and I got in an argument afterwards because I was like, "No, I beat you." And he was like, "No, I didn't. And you didn't." And I was like, "No, I beat you there." It was so much like, oh, Jeff would be like, "Oh, Eric got here. Oh, Joe got here." And I'd be like, "No, actually I got here first." It happened multiple times. And and Jeff afterwards like, "Sorry, you're on the other side." And I'm like, "Well, why aren't the cameras on the other side? Why aren't you in the middle? Like, why are all the boys basically like, why are Chris and Joe right next to each other? Like, why are you expecting the men to win this?" Even in the talks and all the stuff was, "Oh, well, Joe and Chris and Eric." Okay, well, first of all, I kicked all their asses. Then Julia is like ridiculous at puzzles and has constantly proven herself to be better at puzzles than these guys. It just is funny. It's the one time when I am like, when did we stop again? Why is it a shock when women are good at these games?
Right.
So I don't know. It's just frustrating. Like, why is Julie applauded when she wins? Like, it should just be, "Oh yes, Julie was a contender. She was possibly like she was in contention the whole time. She doesn't need extra applause. Like, it should just be expected." I don't know. That's my piss off.
I very much support that point. I'm 100% with that.
Yeah, because it was like, okay, Kelly's the strong girl. Lauren's a collegiate athlete. Okay, well, but there are other women that are winning things. Why do you constantly talk about them being the strong women? Like, they are strong women, and you should praise them. But it's not just one body type. It's not just one archetype. Like, I don't know. I'm done. I can't keep going on it because I feel like I'm going to say something bad because, again, like Kelly and Lauren deserve it. Like, they're very strong women. Kelly has proven consistently through the seasons about being great at it. Lauren fucking will pass out to death before she gets off something. Like, I just think that there's so much more. I think that Julie and Julia respected more in these games. I think Victoria weighs maybe 90 fucking pounds wet and kept up constantly.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that's all fair. And yeah, I think it is crazy that they put Chris and Joe next to each other. It's like, we're just assuming that this is it. They're going to be the last two here.
I mean, dude, Edge of Extinction talked like that. Like, it was ridiculous. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, Chris ends up getting back in and ends up winning.
Yeah,
and
I know.
It's like, damn.
Literally, I had the ball and everything. Like, I was so far ahead. And Rick is standing up, and Rick is like, "Go, Laura."
Yeah.
Try it, boy.
I'm trying.
I'm trying so hard.
You know what would have been interesting though, and I think we saw this with Andrea back in Redemption Island. If it had been you who wins right after getting voted out, because then it's like, okay, it's still the same final six. It's the final six it would have been anyway.
Yes, but then it would have been completely different.
Agreed.
I would have had to try and figure out how Rick and I work together, because Rick is the only person who knows about the idol. Like, we all knew about the half idol, but I will tell you 100%, I completely forgot about it.
Mm-hmm.
I completely forgot that someone got a half idol when they came back in. And so I would have had to figure that out. And again, it would have been the same position where it's like, who am I trusting? Like, I've got to trust Julie with Rick, or if I just trust Lauren with Vic. Like, I'll trust either one of them, but I sure as hell am probably going to trust Lauren. Because Julie wanted me out. There was no way. So I can't even say me getting back in would have won the game. Like, I don't think I would have. I don't even think probably if I got to the finals, people would have voted for me. I made it as far as I did. I have a friend that was on the show. I know people in the show. Like, I beat their butt. So, like, I'm happy. Screw that.
I can't wait to find out who this friend is.
Yeah, that was very mysterious.
Lindsay, who was Lindsay Cascaded.
Okay.
On Joe's tribe.
Oh, I think you told me that.
Yeah, it's just half black, half blonde. She's my hairdresser. She's one of my best friends. Her husband was my personal trainer. When she got on and was leaving to go, I was pissed because I was like, "You're not a fan. Like, how did this happen? And when you like, what?" And I was so upset. But then every time after, she was like, "Why haven't you applied? Why haven't you applied? Why haven't you applied?" Don't think if you know someone who's on Survivor, you're just getting on. Like, I didn't apply. No one was calling me. I still had to apply and do all the same crap everyone else did. But yes, I did know her, and I was very happy that I beat her. So.
Yeah, you did. You beat her by quite an amount. Too.
You certainly beat her.
And but I didn't. I would have never survived with Rodney and them. Like,
yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, is there, what else do you got? Anything else? What else you got?
Any good stories we didn't get to see? Any notes?
Oh God. I'm trying to think. I don't know about notes. I'm trying to. I'm
trying to think. Phil, what? Oh, God.
Just because, since I just went on the rant about like physicality and stuff like that. Yes, I can dive people. Yes, I can do stuff. I was so disappointed about myself in the challenge where we had to go underwater and dive. But also, like, I just had dislocated my shoulder and I could not, like, pull out. It was so hard. You saw that challenge where people were pulling the things under the water and you have Lauren and Kelly screaming and me getting up. It was so difficult. It went on forever and ever and ever. But no, I can't do it because I literally was pulling it. My shoulder was moving and I was like, I'm out. I can't do it. So that sucked. And so good job to everyone. Julia pulling it out. Like, everyone killed it.
Mm-hmm.
Mafia. Oh, Rick, just to keep pushing on Rick. Rick and I had an argument about the 5 balls on the paddle. Mm-hmm. I was like, "Oh, Rick, damn, I was on my 4th ball when you were on yours." And he was like, "No, you weren't. No one was close to me." And I was like, "Okay." I was going to beat you, but I was just saying.
I was close.
There.
Just saying I was in the ballpark.
During the episode, he texted me and he was like, "Okay, sorry." Like,
yeah. We have.
He
go ahead.
And
he was so good.
Phil asked the question.
Yeah, we have one more question.
War Dog may or may not have just.
It might be War Dog. This question comes from a fan that may or may not be War Dog. Who is Aurora's favorite bald player on Edge of Extinction?
You have 2 options.
I mean, God, David is just like so nice. No, literally. So let's talk about War Dog. Let's have a War Dog moment. So War Dog and I did not get along the show. War Dog blocked me before blocking was allowed on Twitter because I hadn't even joined Twitter. And to the point I've learned of War Dog's dad's death. I am so sad. I try to reach out to him. And I have no way to reach out to him. And then I find out, a few weeks later, I can view War Dog's page. Okay, we're moving up. To then I get unblocked, and War Dog and I see each other. I get to LA. I land in. Like the classy individual I am, I just bring my suitcase onto the beach because I want to play volleyball.
Mhm.
And War Dog's there, and I'm just like, screw it. I'm like, hey, War Dog, give him a hug. We play volleyball. War Dog was good at volleyball. Like, not amazing.
Did you say
But,
good
like,
at a sporting
oh,
event?
yes, I know.
That's
No,
don't
War
believe
Dog,
that.
like, was in there, keeping up, moving around. Like, he did really well. I sucked. I, like, almost broke my fucking jaw. Like, yeah, it sucked. To then I'm like, God, I got to get back. Like, the hotel's like 45 minutes away. And I already gave up my free taxi ride from it. And so I'm like, okay, what do I have to lose? So I asked War Dog to at least take me where he's going because it's on the way. And War Dog and I have about a 45-minute car ride, and we're chatting. And yes, I did let him talk most of it. But it was really good. And I felt like for the first time, I actually got to meet a different side of Dan War Dog. Like, I got to meet him as a individual. And I feel like he gave me a chance to meet me. I also think that, like, he learned a little bit more about me, and that maybe just because I react certain ways or say things doesn't mean you should take them the way you're first heard. And so that was a great thing. And that's War Dog and I then were like, okay, we're chill. Like, he came over one night, we were drinking and all these other stuff. To then War Dog and I go to Vegas, and everyone goes to bed the first night, basically. And so War Dog sits with me, my brother, and my brother's husband, and we just chat to the point where, like, my brother and his husband, like, leave, and War Dog and I are just sitting. We are shooting shots. War Dog is getting bought shots. First of all, what the fuck? Like, these women were just buying shots for War Dog. Being like, hi, War Dog.
Oh,
like,
my
God.
I'm not joking. I was surprised too.
I'm sick to my stomach, Aurora.
I am
Thanks for that.
so upset.
Thanks for ruining my Sunday.
Oh my God. And there was one girl who was like, ah. And then there's this other girl who was like so wasted, but still was like, let me get it together, and like talking to him and like being like, oh, I'm like, oh my God.
Oh my
I'm
God.
sure War Dog didn't love that at all, right?
Yeah, he must have been bored.
He was very funny. He just was like very passive about it. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay. Like, again, mad
Wow.
respect. Not gonna be like, hey, drunk girl. Like, yeah. Total respectful. Just laughed it off. Wanted to instead have conversations with me. And I just grew so much respect. And I loved that he was the one person who, like, I could not connect with and was so nervous about seeing. And I felt like I left the finale better because I had actually made a relationship with him. So I was very happy about that.
That's awesome.
That's great.
That's really great. Also,
And his brother was like, I hated you before I met you, but now you're my second favorite.
his brother?
Yes.
Did I meet War Dog's brother? I met his sister and his mom. I don't know if I met.
His sister's hot, isn't she?
I thought it was his like kid sister, and I said that straight to her, and she was like, "No."
Sure, she loved that one.
She's supposedly she's older, and I was like, "Then that guy?"
I know, and I was like, wait, you're related to him? Like,
yeah,
okay.
wild.
He's going downhill fast.
You're like wild. Yeah, I'm happy that you and War Dog were able to patch things up, and you left the finale happy, because I did not leave it happy because we never got our picture, Aurora. So. Just
I like didn't take any photos. Like, I'm getting them for other people, but no. I mean, honestly, he's one of the people who surprised me. David surprised me because David was such a hard worker at camp. When I tell you, like, there were people who slept in the shelter and knew crap, and then there were people who slept by the fire and constantly were doing things. Like, I got called the fire Nazi too, but it's also because you're sleeping around a fire. But Dave, if I woke up, David had woken up and was already putting wood on the fire. Like, he was such a hard worker. Kelly was as well. Like, Kelly was such a hard worker, but she also, I think Kelly gets credit for being scrappy, for being all of this. I thought it was very interesting to hear Kelly talk about how she was nervous being social. Kelly needs to teach classes on how to be social and get around with people. You could watch her and she would be with War Dog and she would fit War Dog's personality to get along with him. Then she would come with me. She would fit my personality and go along with me. She just has that ability to make everyone feel comfortable. And Lauren has parts of that as well. It's like she's the embodying. She's budding to be like a Kelly, which is probably why they got along so well.
Yeah. No, that makes, I mean, I get it. They dealt with War Dog for 30 days. So you gotta be doing something right?
No, yeah. Again, I would have been out. I would have been out.
That's cool to hear about Kelly though, because when we talked to her and like Phil, when you met her, like that was super evident. But like you said, when you're watching the show, that's not what they play up about her. That's not what like we're shown about Kelly. And I feel like this is the first season where we really saw a lot of that.
Yeah, and you see it. I mean, like she got Gavin away from Gavin's crew. Like Gavin didn't just flip. Like Gavin was worked on by Kelly and Lauren. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Take it away from Vic. Like I can't understand. Like I look at other seasons and I'm like, I feel like she was just ostracized. She wasn't given a chance to do it because it can't come that easily if it's not natural to you. Mm-hmm. So I don't think she realizes she's so good at it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then her dad, oh God, her dad and I just banter and troll each other. I love it.
Oh, Farm Guy 69.
Farm Guy 69.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Love
He tried
Farm
to say
Guy.
something to me. He was like, yeah. I was like, well, I'll see you on Twitter. And he was like, yeah, I heard you don't know how to shut your mouth. And I was like, yeah, I've read your tweets also.
Yeah.
He is great on Twitter.
Oh my God. I was like, if I couldn't get it, I can't get away with that because I don't live in the country. Like, sorry. Yeah. But I don't know. I think I've talked well about everyone. So as long as I've done that.
I mean, yeah, for the most part, right? I mean, you're longer than Lauren. So I think you might be our third longest podcast, Aurora. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, I can talk.
Congratulations.
Who would have thought? You were worried you wouldn't hit 2 hours, and now we're approaching more.
So we're nearing 3.
I'm more surprised I haven't peed yet. Like, I've got to pee. Like, oh, thermoses are empty. Like,
Aurora, you're not the only one, okay?
This is a 3-way party. I got to pee.
The hell up.
Yeah,
this has been great,
Alexa,
but
wrap it up. I'm going to take
like I need to pee real quick. So with that,
unless Aurora, do you have anything else?
Yeah, what are we doing?
We don't want to rush you out.
We don't want to rush you out, but
if we're all about to pee our pants,
I will. I have one thing to say, only because it reminds me of Eric. Is to one thing, if anyone is a fan and like thinking of applying and they get in the game, please, for the love of God, stop in the game and have fun. Like I was miserable. I will tell you, when I played the game, honestly, I was miserable playing. I was happy to be playing, but I was miserable. And Eric said something to me after the game being like, wow, it's so nice like seeing this like sunshine, vibrant Aurora. Like this was not me in the game. I didn't talk to people. I stayed alone. All I thought about was numbers and strategy and how to make people think that I was going to go with them. And have fun, people. Like, fuck. Like, it's so much more fun than you think. That's why when people go and play the second time, you see a different side of them. It's because it's fun. So have fun, please, because I was miserable and I wish I wasn't.
That's fantastic.
It's really good advice. Yeah.
I'm glad that you stuck that in there. And
that was a good way to end.
I know, I'm serious though, because it's like I feel like a lot of people, they get so wrapped up in the strategy, and then a lot of people when they come off the show, with just the way a lot of the internet is, it's like, oh well, now this is just obnoxious. I'm being trolled all over, and I was starving. So I do think that people miss like Survivor's about the adventure at the start, like adventure. Like Eric definitely was having an adventure. Like when we were talking to him, you could tell this guy's having an adventure, and like.
I mean, the man, I don't know how he wasn't covered in spider bites. The man literally like worked so hard. He was climbing trees. Like the amount of holes he digged for idols, like we literally were like, Eric, can you cover them? Like, please. Mm-hmm. Like, he had fun.
We're all tripping.
I can't walk anywhere, Eric.
Thanks. Yeah. Well.
All right.
Alexa, do
I do this? How badly does everyone need to pee? Are we about to end this?
We're on like a 9 right now.
All right. Okay. We are. Let me do this quickly. Okay. So we will be back this Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. We are talking to the toy maker herself. Julie Rosenberg. Phil and I are going to have to answer for any and all comments we've made about wooden toys in the past 3 months.
Covering my eyes.
We are terrified. We are excited. It's going to be great. Make sure to tune into
I hope that you get a delivery in the mail.
She did say in the chat.
Happen.
She said in the chat, tune in if you want a good time and to watch Phil freak out. So like, I'm ready. I'm like going to just go stare at wooden toys so that I'm just like, all right, like you can do this. I got to play it cool, like on the podcast.
I imagine the camera is just going to be on her toys and she's going to be talking like Big Brother from somewhere.
Yeah.
She's going to talk through them and like make their mouth.
A terrifying puppet show, just what I need. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
I'm so excited. So everyone tune in for that.
I will tell you, if you're going to talk to Julie, you need to ask Julie how many times she got hurt and hear about every hurt. Like she's physically falling into things, walking into things. Like you need to tell her, point her on that because she is hilarious.
I've been looking for a lot of GIFs for like when we tweet about her tomorrow, and pretty much all of them are her falling. So this makes a lot of sense.
You can't tell me there isn't a better GIF or just sequence to watch than her trying to get to the one with the ball that goes over.
Oh, yeah. It's the best where she just keeps falling in the ropes and she's like, ah.
You hear her in the background, like that. Oh my God, it was amazing.
So good.
God, I love her so much. And she just still keeps going. Like, God, I love her.
That was a loud one.
That was a I need to pay message being sent from someone. I don't know.
That mean I don't know how to work into this. Like I just
no, that's okay. I was just like, whoa, that one was loud.
Wow, that was something. That was Julie texting you saying, please stop.
I don't even have the number.
Well, Alexi, you were halfway through.
I was halfway through. So in the meantime, no, this is good. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're at like 5,300 subscribers on YouTube. We are at over 2,000 on Twitter, which is super crazy and exciting. Follow us on all social media. Listen to us on iTunes and Spotify. So if you have an Android, you can actually listen to us audio now, which is super exciting. And become a patron. We have a bunch of new listeners, and we put out a lot more content than just what you get for free. So if you guys become a $1, $5, $10, $20 patron, we have a ton of really good stuff to give you guys if you want to hear more from us. Aurora, we loved having you on. We'd love to have you back anytime, and I really hope you get to pay.
Thank you. I really do. Yeah.